Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the BJJ Foxcast. I'm your host, Alex Martinez, and today I have a good friend of mine. I can't believe you're on the show. Josh Rodriguez is on the show today. He's a first-degree black belt under Gustavo Dantas. He's the head instructor at GD BJJ Academy. He one of the things we were just talking about was your second place finish at Masters 1 at Masters Worlds, and you're a fight to win veteran with a record of 7-2. Josh, welcome to the show, man. Yeah, pull that mic a little bit closer.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. I've been trying to put this together for a while, dude.
Yeah, we've been playing phone tag with this one.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you coming on. And this is I normally record on Sundays.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be in town this Sunday, and I wasn't in town last Sunday. So thank God we could make this happen, dude. So let's get right into it. Tell me what's going on with okay, I want to get to the meat of it because I've always wondered, like, you've been competing on a bad knee for a few years now. Let's talk about that knee injury. Let's talk about the surgery and where you are right now.
So, man, I feel like my knee injuries can go back so far.
Yeah,
like
years.
when I was in high school, I had it's called oxygen slaughter. It's where like your shin bone grows into your knee. So you'll see people, they also call it runner's knee. Okay. And it's just really painful, but it doesn't really affect your movement so much. It was really painful all the time when I was younger. And then I started jiu-jitsu, and I was a white belt, I believe, and I was visiting a Gracie Baja in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I was playing Deep De La Hiva, and I didn't really know how to play it. I was just learning it. Yeah. And when you play Deep De La Hiva, if you straighten your legs too much, your knees can become locked. And I was sweeping the guy the right way, but my knee was locked, and he fell on top of my knee, so my knee kind of bent sideways, and there was a loud pop, and I definitely tore something, but I was always the kind of guy like, you're just hurt. Take some time to get back, you know? So like 2 months later, I was probably training like a week later, but like 2 months later, I would say I was probably training full speed. And then purple belt, well, there was little injuries all the time, but like purple belt before the Worlds, I was training. The camp was crazy, like Espen and Orlando and Marcio. I don't know if Marcio was there actually at the time, but it was purple belt and just a bunch of tough dudes. And I remember the last week of training, I'm training super hard with a heavier guy. His name was John Owning. And I was just feeling confident. We were like wrestling on our feet, and he jumped guard, and I had my knee sideways. He landed on my knee. And that was when I think I tore my ACL, maybe. Okay. Because my knee went totally left, and I fell to the right. And it was just like, I remember laying on the floor, and I was like, it's bad, it's bad. Everyone's asking what happened. I'm like, it's bad, it's bad. And so anyways, I go home, and Espen was there. Orlando was there. Tommy was living there. Nate, my friend Nate was living there.
That was right across the street, right?
We were all I used to have a house across the street from the gym.
I remember that.
It was a 2-bedroom, but we made it a 3-bedroom and kind of like a 5-bedroom. And it was just like anybody that would call me, they'd be like, yeah, come out. Let's anybody I could have in the house to like keep the environment all jiu-jitsu, I would do it. But anyways, I fell and I was at home and they're like, you're going to be fine. And I'm like, I'm not going to be fine. I'm not going to compete. It's in a week. There's no way I'm going to compete. Yeah. So, we get to the Worlds, and I'm walking up and down the bleachers coaching, you know, having fun coaching through the first 2 days. And Gustavo's looking at me. He's like, dude, you're walking okay. You should think about competing. Yeah. I was like, man, I can't compete. If I turn, my knee's going to buckle. He gives me a bottle of Tiger Balm. First time I ever seen Tiger Balm. Yeah. He's like, take this, rub it all over your knee, like 20 minutes before your fight, and let's see how it feels. Yeah. So I was like, all right, we'll see how I feel tomorrow. So I put it on that night just for practice. And I was like, it feels pretty good. I've never used it before. Yeah. And the next day I get there and I'm like, I'm just going to compete. Screw it. We'll see what happens. So I put it all over my knee. And the first 2 matches, I shoot triangles and I catch like 30-second triangles, you know, boom, right off the bat. And then I get to the 3rd round and I'm fighting, I remember it's Alexander Molinaro. He's a pretty active competitor still. Yeah. He's a middleweight, I believe now. And I would sweep him, but as soon as I got up, he was playing De La Hiva, and every time he kind of pulled my ankle, my knee would buckle. I would just fall over. So I ended up losing that match. I think I did well. I think it was like, I don't know, like 4-8 or something like that. Like I could score, but I couldn't stay on top because my knee was buckling. Yeah. So I go back to training, and I had little injuries all the time, you know, tons of them throughout my competition career. Like I don't think I ever had like 4 months straight of training without a knee injury, and that was kind of on both knees. So go into the first year at black belt. I go to the Masters Worlds, Masters 1, and had a good day. Like the first match I started out with calf slicer, like almost like on accident. I was going for a back take, and I landed in a calf slicer like 10 seconds into the match. And, And then end up the second match. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but somehow I'm playing De La Riva and I pop my own knee. You know, I think it was actually lapel guard. I was playing lapel guard and I'm trying to sweep the guy. I feel my knee pop a little bit. I just deal with it. Like I always, I'm like, whatever, my knee pops. So.
Yeah.
And I remember they tried to give me ice and I wouldn't ice I tried it for like 5 seconds and I was like, nope, it's going to hurt worse. So I start running around. I'm running in between every match because if I stop moving, it's going to swell. It's going to like lock up.
Yep.
So I get into the 5th round, maybe. No, 6th round. And I'm in the semifinals and I'm fighting, I can't remember his name. Cobrinia's one of Cobrinia's main master students. For some reason, I'm blanking right now.
Yeah.
But it's a tough match, and I get like a calf slicer position again, but almost like a Matrix style back take. This is before the Matrix was like a thing, so I was just kind of making it up.
Right.
And as I pull his hips, I feel my knee pop and explode. You know. And this time, I think this was my knee that I didn't have the surgery. I didn't have the recent surgery on. It was my left knee, I believe. But I remember like I'm thinking I can't finish the match. So I'm laying on the floor on my back, and I see the medics running out. And I look over at the clock, and there's like 50 seconds left, and I'm down by like a point. And I stand up, and I'm waving the medics off because I didn't know if you get medics help, are they going to DQ me now?
Right.
Do I lose?
Right, yeah.
So I wave them off. I can barely stand up, and I'm like, dude, 2 minutes or a minute left. I'm just going to finish the match and lose.
Yeah.
If I lose, I lose. And somehow I get to close guard. And I pendulum sweep him to the mount. He turns, I get his back, I score the points, I win the match.
No way.
Like, it's pretty crazy because I thought in my mind, I was like, no way I could even walk right now.
Right.
And then like after that, I had this adrenaline rush and my knee feels pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, like before the final.
Yeah.
So I go into the match against Diego. And I remember we pulled together. He came up, got the advantage. And I'm playing lapel guard. I'm like, fine, I'm going to sweep him. This is my best position, my best guard. And about 3.5 minutes go by, and Feijal's coaching me. He's like the loudest coach, and Vanessa's coaching me, and she's telling me to let go and switch the position. She's like, switch the position. You can't. He's too heavy. Like he was too strong for me to sweep him.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I gave her like a wink, like, no, I got my grips. You know, I'm gonna get this point. I know I'm gonna score.
Yeah.
And as I'm doing that, I'm like, he's being so good about leaning over my knee. And if you play lapel guard, you know, like a lot of the goals that get over the knee, over his knee.
Yep.
And I'm tweaking my own knee. Like, it's kind of like when you're in 50-50 and you're trying to like sweep somebody. I'm tweaking my other knee.
By tweaking, was it going in and out?
It's going to the side. Like, if you could imagine, like your arm, it's going like outwards.
Oh, gotcha.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's just a little bit of a scary feeling for me.
Yeah.
So I ended up losing the match by 1 advantage. And like, I just never opened up. I thought I was going to sweep him, and he did a great job of just being like really good about the position.
Yeah.
After the tournament, Vanessa, we go on vacation. Vanessa's pregnant, and right when we're coming home, like her water breaks like the day. So we go to have the kid.
Well,
that's
pull the mic up just a little bit when you move back. You can move back. Just pull the mic with you. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So we go to have. So she was pregnant, and we're gonna have our first child. And I'm like, I should get my knee looked at now because I'm probably gonna need some time off of jiu-jitsu. So
perfect timing.
Yeah. So I get the MRIs, and maybe it was even like 6 months later or whatever. I get an MRI, but I get them on both my knees because they're both pretty messed up. And so the guy's like, you have an ACL and an MCL tear in both your knees. And we don't know how bad the one in the left is, but the one on the right is like shredded.
Whoa.
You need to come in. And he was like, I don't know how you've been walking. And at that point, I was already walking okay. I was like, my knees feel good again.
Yeah.
But they were like that. My knees are so up and down where like they could be great 1 week and then the next week, like they're not. So I go into, I'm like, we're going to do both surgeries. We're going to do one first because earlier, 10 years back, sorry, I forgot this. 10 years back, I did have 2 surgeries on both my knees when I was a blue belt. I had meniscus removal on both my knees. So just a small one. Yeah. So this time I'm going to do it again, but I wanted to do them separate because last time I did them at the same time, and that sucked. It was only like a week of really bad pain, but that was horrible. So I do the ACL. No big deal. Everyone tells me it's going to hurt. I get home, and about 10 days after the surgery, I'm starting to feel good. Like I'm walking already. I'm like, man, I'm going to be fine, And then I swear, like that night, like my knee is just hurting again, like nothing. And I call Vanessa like 3 a.m. She works at the hospital overnights. I was like, babe, something's wrong. I don't know what it is. Like my knee doesn't feel the same as it did yesterday. The pain is different, way worse than ever. So she knows that I'm pretty tough. I usually just ignore injuries. So the next day she takes me into my knee specialist, and the surgeon wasn't in. So I'm seeing the assistant, and the assistant is telling me that I'm being stubborn. He's trying to bend my knee. He's like, stop stiffing up your knee. Let me bend your knee so I can. He's like, you just had an ACL surgery. It's supposed to hurt. It's going to hurt. It's swollen. Yeah. And I'm just like, it's not. It's more swollen than it was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
It hurts way worse. He sent me home. So I get to the car. Vanessa's like, get back in there. Because it was during COVID, actually.
Yeah.
She's like, you're not gonna go home without this being checked. So they ended up like taking a sample, and they ended up taking like 4 syringes full.
Holy
just
crap.
so much.
Just fluid.
He you could see his face, like he knew like something's wrong. So
Yeah.
they send me home. They call me back like hours later, or maybe the next day. It's like, you need to come into the hospital. You have a staph infection.
Oh.
You know?
In the surgery.
Yeah,
in the surgically repaired knee.
Yeah, in the surgically repaired in the knee. You know, so I go back into the hospital, and they put me in a surgery the same day. Like, they opened my knee back up, and I believe they put like all these antibiotic beads all throughout my knee and my leg and my calf, and it wasn't doing that good of a job, I guess. So like, that was like maybe 8 or 9 days of waiting for that, or a couple days of waiting for that to heal. I forget now because I was on so much medication at the time.
Yeah.
And then they bring me in for a second. They do something else to try to, fix it. And then finally, like, it's been like 10 days already, and the staph infection was now spreading to my heart.
Oh,
So I had a PICC line in my arm.
Yeah.
Where they were injecting medicine from my arm directly into my heart to fight the infection.
Wow.
And somehow that gave me the staph infection on my heart valves, or in my heart, or, whatever the medical term was for it. So now my heart's an issue. I've become septic, so my organs are failing. Like, my skin turned green. I don't know how much weight I lost, but I think I lost like 30. I was like 135 pounds. I could make light feather easy, and I'm like 162 right now. So,
Yeah.
So anyways, like, they decide they're going to take the surgery out, right? And the whole time, the worst part about this is, like, there's every morning doctors come in, and they're like having a meeting over me. No one's talking to me.
They're talking about you.
Yeah, they're whispering. They're
Yeah.
writing on the board, and I'm asking questions, and they're not giving me answers. Like, I remember one time I was like, am I going to lose my knee? And he's like, probably not. Or my leg, probably not. But the way he said it, I was like, this is really happening right now? And then, like, I started thinking they're going to kill me. I'm going to die in here.
Yeah.
So anyways, they take the ACL out. I'm in the hospital, and they're still fighting the infection, because the infection's all throughout my knee, and it's now in my blood vein. So it's spreading through my whole body. So I'm thinking they're going to kill me. Vanessa's coming, and it's during COVID, so I had no visitors. It was by myself all day.
Wow.
And I remember bringing my PlayStation. I didn't play it one time.
Wow.
For like, whatever the time, I forget how many days, because it was such a crazy time, like a couple weeks that I was in. Finally, they send me home, and they have like me set up to have a nurse come to my house twice a day to take care of me. And like a day or two later, maybe hours later, they called me like, you need to come right back in. We just got more blood results. It's really bad.
Holy shit.
So I'm back in the hospital again, by myself again. My son's birthday, he just turned 2, or just turned 1. And it was just crazy, like the whole time. So then finally, like, I get home again, and I'm injecting blood medicine into my own shoulder. I have a PICC line from my shoulder to my heart. And I got to do it like 3 times a day. It's painful.
You're doing it yourself?
Doing it myself at something. They taught you how to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm still feeling like this is not going to work. Who knows if it's going to work? And, so the whole time, like my mom came out, and the whole time you're just laying there. Like, I'm in so much pain, by the way. I didn't sleep for 30 days. Oh my God. Get hurt worse than anything. And I'm pretty tough. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, 30 days or so goes by. And they're like, in 6 months, you're going to have to come back in and do it again. And as soon as the swelling went away, I started to feel better. Besides my stomach, because I had so much antibiotics. I was sick for like 8 months. You know? I felt like I was really sick for a long time.
Yeah, and you're probably injecting antibiotics so often that it doesn't matter how much you eat. It's not going to get processed.
I didn't even want to eat any food.
Yeah.
They were like, I swear in the hospital, I was probably losing weight because they would bring me a plate, and I would just look at it and be like, I'm not eating that. And then like 5 hours later, they come back with a new plate. They would just take the old one and set the new one down. No. And nobody would be like, hey, you need to eat. Nobody was telling me you need to eat. Like, nobody even cared about me.
Yeah.
And even at home, luckily, Vanessa was like, you're going to eat this. You're going to eat this. I'll make you a shake. Like, she took such good care of me.
Yeah.
She did a great job. But once the swelling went down, my knee started feeling better. And I just started walking on it. And I was like, because they gave me a cane. They're like, you're never going to walk again without the surgery. You're not going to ever walk normal again. And I tried the cane for like a day, and I was like, this sucks. So I got crutches. I was like, this sucks. I hate crutches, you know? So I just started walking on it, and I was like so used to walking on an unstable knee for the last decade that it was weird. I was like, man, it's not so bad. It just feels like I hurt my knee in training. That's how it feels.
I wonder if your muscles just kind of strengthened around that knee because it was so unstable and you just had to.
So the surgeon's explanation, which I felt like he was like joking way too much with me. I was so mad at him after the whole thing. Like he was like, good thing is you have so much scar tissue in there. It's probably just going to hold your knee together. And like, maybe he was right, but I kind of held on to that. And I was like, I'm just going to believe that.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm just going to believe that. Yeah. Right. And then Greg McCarthy from physical, what's
Control Physical Therapy? Greg McClarty, my buddy. McClarty, episode 7, if you guys are wondering who he is.
Man, awesome guy. So he messaged me and he sent me an article about like some doctors that were doing research thinking that certain people, like a small percentage, people don't really need their ACL the same way everybody else does. And again, I didn't really look into it. I didn't even read much of it because it was I was just like, boom, I believe that. You know?
Yeah.
So if I would have done the ACL surgery and done the full recovery, it would have been about 9 months if I came back. I would say a month after the swelling went down, I just went back to training.
No shit.
No ACL, and no meniscus, no lateral meniscus, no medial meniscus, no ACL. And I don't even know if my MCL is torn on this knee or not. I don't even know because I didn't ask any questions because I was in such pain. Again, my left knee, I was supposed to get my left ACL at least looked at, or they were supposed to go in and do whatever. But I was like, never again am I going to ever do a surgery again in my life.
Wow.
You know, I was just, if something happens, I won't do it unless it's like dire need. Yeah. I'll never do it again. So I just started training and, man, I don't know, like within 6 months, I was like pretty much training full speed with a lot of doubts.
Yeah, of course.
Like I didn't trust it, but I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this every day. And
are you able to stand up and hold your balance when somebody's trying to off balance you?
Okay. I feel I am, but I'm afraid of it.
Yeah.
You know? So like I like to wrestle, but I don't like to wrestle when I'm like, if my first attempt doesn't work or something, then I feel like I'm just putting myself in a lot of danger. You know, like with my right knee so unstable. Well, it feels good.
But you can't tear your ACL.
Yeah, I can't tear that's what I tell people. I'm like, I can't tear my ACL. So, but now their worry is my meniscus. Yeah. Apparently I have like 10% meniscus on my medial side and some on my lateral side. So they're worried more about my meniscus. But I'm like, dude, that's pretty much gone too. So I just try to always tell myself like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You're fine. So now I'm training full speed and I don't think about it as much. And really like this last 2 years has been probably the most consistent training I've had in the last 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
My knee feels better than ever.
Wow.
You know? So like I don't feel as explosive and I feel like I have a little doubt in my mind, but my knee feels great. Like I've been pretty lucky with the way it's turned out. And my left knee, I just never look back and I just don't think about it anymore. And I'm like, your knee's fine. I don't even do like the physical therapy anymore because that kind of puts my mind in this place where I'm thinking about don't hurt yourself. I don't wear braces or anything. Gotcha. I just try to change my game a little bit, you know, to adapt to stuff that will keep me safe.
Yeah. I don't do that either, man. I don't wear braces. I don't tape up. Yeah. I feel like when I wear a brace, it hurts more.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Because that compression, I guess. I don't know.
Compression does. And I also think it gives you like this false sense of security. Like, I can put my leg here. You know, I got a brace on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious where that toughness comes from, because okay, so for people who don't know, you were my first morning coach. You were my first basically coach, right? I trained mornings with you. I trained evenings with Paul.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah, crazy.
What belt was that back then?
For you, purple.
Purple.
You started teaching, and your purple was all fucked up. So you've been a purple for a little while, right?
My purple was fucked up.
Yeah. So you started coaching our morning guys, and then coaching us at tournaments and stuff like that. Yeah. So we got to know each other really well. Yeah. And for people who don't know, you played on a very successful high school football team for a couple of years. I mean, can you talk about that a little bit?
So really, like high school, I mean, all the way through Pop Warner, like football was like still is my first love. Like, I watch football just as much as I watch jiu-jitsu or even basketball and baseball now.
Yeah.
But I played from probably the age of 6, and like you said, the toughness, where did it come from? Like I remember my dad telling me after practice, like, you don't have any blood on your pants. You didn't train that hard today, And, like, him watching us run sprints, and like, if you're going to come in last, you're going to hear about it. Like, you're not going to come in last at the sprints at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, and even hitting drills, like if I was doing hitting drills, I remember like in Pop Warner, the coaches weren't that good. So sometimes they would just have us do hitting drills all day. And I would always get matched up with the biggest guy, and I can remember my shoulder being dead. Like I had the worst stinger. And they would be like, go Rodriguez. And there was this dude named Jimmy Rogers. Rodriguez, Jimmy, again. And just because the team was watching, I was like, I can't back down. So we would just basically back up and run into each other full speed all the time. And so when I got into high school, like my freshman year, I had a good freshman year. I think I had like 8 or 9 interceptions. And I remember telling people, they would always ask, like, man, how do I get good at football? I'm like, dude, if you can't run into a wall, you're not going to get good at football.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't run full speed into somebody, it's going to be hard. Unless you're like super blessed with some kind of physical gifts, it's a tough sport. So I played for Hamilton. I got pulled up to varsity as a sophomore, but then like that's when I felt like I started hitting a lot of walls because I was this size when I was in junior high.
Okay,
like when I was 8th grade, I was my same size. Now.
So you were you were one of the bigger kids.
I was one of the bigger kids, but at Hamilton, man, the year that I graduated, or the year my junior year maybe, we had 18 Division I.
Oh
players,
my gosh!
You know? Like, so if anybody knows the story about Hamilton football, from like the 2000-ish year, maybe 99 to like 2012, they were just insane. And Chandler High has taken over, and like some other, like Saguaro and some other schools. Yeah. But Hamilton was insane. Like just everybody has a chance to go to the NFL here. Wow. So I remember hitting walls and like coaches moving me around from safety to linebacker. Coaches, we had mean coaches. Football is so different than jiu-jitsu. Like, you mess up, you're going to hear about it. And they'd be like, what, are you afraid? Are you afraid? You know? And it plays in your head. So I kind of feel like that really changed my football career the last 2 years. Like, everybody's so good. I'm just a regular guy, you know? Like, I'm not a star anymore. Yeah. And it just, I just knew, like, I'm not going to play football. That's not my path, you know? Yeah. Like freshman year, my mom was like, what's your plan B? It's like, there's no plan B. I'm going to play sports, you know? Like I'm going to figure out a way to play football. And if I don't play football, I'm going to do something else. But I really lost my love of the sport, you know, as a senior. Like, I had one defensive coordinator, my coach, Manny Palomares. If you're listening, Manny, you were a jerk. but you were tough. This guy was so hard on me, man. Like, he would just, like, it killed my confidence so much. I remember, like, I was in a sled drill, and I was matched up with this guy, Adam Vincent. He's just a monster linebacker. He's like 6'3", 230, and there's a sled. You both push the sled at the same time. Well, he's so much bigger than me. The sled's just going in circles. And he's yelling at me. He's like, are you too weak? Are you too weak? He's just just this mean coach. That's how coaches were, you know. But it kind of killed my love for the sport. Yeah. And I remember when the season was ending, Coach Wren, who they named the field after him. He's a famous coach in Arizona. He's retired now, but he's like, man, if you want to play, you can play somewhere. We'll find you somewhere to go to college. Because he did this with a lot of people, even if you're not going to actually play. Like, we'll send you to South Dakota State, you know.
Who cares?
Somewhere, and we'll just get you in a program. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not playing anywhere. I'm done with football, you know. Wow. I was just so done with, because I did it my whole life. In Arizona, it's so hot. It's just hard, you know. It's hard on your body. And I remember wrestling coaches are like, hey, you should come wrestle. And I was like, dude, football was just ended like 2 days ago, and it was so hard. I heard wrestling's harder. Yeah. I'm not. So I didn't know what I was going to do. Football, high school ended. And this is kind of how jiu-jitsu started. Like, I moved to Florida to go to college. My brother was going to Florida State, and I went to Tallahassee. I just was like, I just want to get out of here. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing, why I'm even going to school. So I went out there for a year, and Katrina hit. And then I kind of used that as my excuse to get out of Florida. I was like, I'm going to go back to Arizona. My dad was living in Hawaii at the time. He moved to Hawaii when I moved to Florida. So I moved back here, and I was just like doing nothing. And I was watching a lot of UFC, and I remember calling Chris Lopez's school. Yeah, and, Chris, out of Chandler, I think, Chandler, right? Yeah, Christopher Lopez, one of the best instructors in the state. Yeah, so. For sure. And I remember calling, and he answered, and I was like, I want to do MMA. And they had a small MMA program. They still do. A great starters program. Like, there's not like fighters out of it, but you'll learn how to fight there for sure. Yeah. And my first question was like, I'm 20 years old. I might be too old to start. Am I too old to start? And he was laughing at me. You know? That's great. So I get into his gym, and he's just an awesome coach. I had such a great time. I tried to bring all my friends in. Nobody lasted more than a day or two. Yeah. And like about a year in, I'm like, I want to fight. You know, I'm ready to fight. And he was like, you can't fight MMA under me until you have a blue belt. Okay. So I'm like, fine. Okay. That's fine. That's fair. So didn't know it was going to take 3 more years to get a blue belt because he's pretty strict on promotions. You're not going to wear a belt from him that you didn't earn. Right. And I was also 21, so I was like living 2 lives. Like, I was trying to have fun and go out and be a young kid, but I was also trying to be professional, and I was definitely not professional. Right. But that's where I got into the sport, and I think like football is what made me so tough. So like in the beginning, I wasn't very good, but I was pretty tough and fast.
Yeah.
So it helped me find my way through like the lower belts for sure. And being at someone like Lopez, he's so technical and he keeps it so basic. It wasn't very hard for me to start winning tournaments in the beginning and doing well, just very unprofessionally with how I did it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you were still trying to find your way. And, we laugh about starting at 20 and that being too old.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking at a career in jiu-jitsu today, I think you're behind the 8 ball starting at 20.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of children that came up through the kid system that
I didn't realize that I didn't get my black belt until I was 29.
Yeah.
So like I thought like 25, 26, because BJ Penn got his black belt in 3 years. You heard about that. You're like, I'm going to do that. And you get into the gym, and I remember my first day in the gym, like people were closing their guard on me, and I was picking them up and like just slamming them back on the floor. And I was like thinking, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to figure this out easy.
Yeah.
But it just took so long. It was so hard. And there were so many, like, once you get to the top levels, like the Pans, the Worlds, the Europeans, the Nationals, and you realize like, oh, I'm the best guy in the state, but there's 9 or 10 guys in this division that could beat me, if I don't have my perfect round. So it was a lot of fun. I miss those days. I miss like having no responsibilities besides just training.
Just training. Yeah. Yeah. Living in a 2-bedroom. I mean, it was basically a condo.
Yeah, it was like a condo.
Yeah, it was a little condo.
We had a little backyard.
Yeah, like 6-7 people in it.
Right across the street.
Right across the street, yeah.
We had to run across a main road, like 6-lane main road just to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that, dude. I remember hanging out at your place for a little bit. We would do competition training at GD and then come over. That was pretty wild.
Yeah, so that was a couple years later.
Yeah,
the Lopez stuff.
Yeah. So tell me about coaching, man. How did you get started in coaching? Because I'll tell you how I got started, and it's your fault.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Go ahead.
So when I was in my 20s, I would quit a job just because I didn't like it. Be like, man, I did all these phone jobs, telemarketing and collections, and it's just like they sounds great. They're gonna pay you like, let's say back in the 2000s, like $15 an hour. It was great. It was like, cool, I get all this money, but the job sucked. And I finally got a good job working in a chemical warehouse. It was called Rinchem. I worked in a clean room. Like I was getting paid pretty good money. I think I had got a raise like $22 an hour or something like. And this is like 2010 or I don't know what the year it was, but I was purple belt.
Is that off of Chandler Boulevard?
Yes, off Chandler Boulevard.
I know the place.
Just past the 10.
I know the place. Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's like a super hazardous chemical warehouse.
Yeah.
And great job, great career. Like I thought that was gonna be my career.
Okay.
And I'd already moved up a couple times. So, anyways, Nava's gym has an opening, and I was training with Nava all the time. We were hanging out after all the tournaments, and we were just good friends. Yeah. Still one of my best friends in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And he's like, hey, you want to teach? I got a morning class open. And I was like, what does it pay? He's like $150 a week. And so like I finally worked my way up to like, I don't know what I was getting, but let's say I was getting paid like $1,500 every 2 weeks. You know? Yeah. For me, that was like, dude, I'm making like $3,000 a month, like or $4,000 a month. I'm like, and then I thought about it and I was like, I can make it work if I do a private lesson here. Yeah. And I swear, like I went from making all this money to making like $600 a month, and I think my rent.
You quit Rinchem to teach?
To teach.
All right.
So I did both for like 4 months. Okay. So what I would do, it was crazy. I would have I think the class was like at 10 or 11, but I started at 6. So I would tell my boss like, hey, for the next few months, I need to have lunch at 10 because I have to go do some stuff for my family, whatever I was making up, whatever lie I was telling them. Yeah. And I would be like, my lunch is an hour, but I'm going to be about an hour and a half every day, because I need to do these whatever errands I got to run. But it was always like cutting it too close. And I was like, it sucks going back to work. I'm all sweaty. There was no shower at Nava's. Yeah. And at some point I was just like, dude, if you want to do this, you're going to win. I thought you're going to win a world title anyways, before you know it. So just quit your job and do it the right way. And I thought like I could just go back if I wanted to, if I ever had the opportunity, or if I ever quit jiu-jitsu. And man, my belief that something was going to happen was so strong. And it didn't work out the way that I thought, but it worked out pretty great, for me. And I was teaching, $150 a week. I don't know how many classes, maybe 3 classes a week. And just from there, I started building, and maybe maybe like by year 2 or 3, I was making a couple $100 a week.
Yeah.
And now I'm teaching like 18 classes a week to where I'm turning classes down. I'm taking classes. Like every dollar I've made for the past decade or so has been from jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
So I don't think I made a mistake at all.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Definitely not rich.
Right.
But I feel like content with where I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Yeah, I mean, I quit my corporate job to do jiu-jitsu full time, so I totally feel you. I mean, it's not, there's not a ton of money in it, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
But there is money if you want it.
Oh, yeah, there's money
like,
out there.
I don't want it like everybody else does because I don't want to sell myself out. Like I want to
Yeah.
love jiu-jitsu for what it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy that's like bending over backwards, left and right to make everything happen. Like, man, I have 2 young kids.
Yeah.
I'm at home. I bring them to me or to work with me every day, twice a day.
Nice.
They spend 5 hours or so at the gym every day.
Yeah.
My wife goes to work. She leaves by 6 a.m. So, like, I wake the kids up. I take them to the gym. I take them home from the gym. I try to give them a nap. We play in the pool all day. I take them back to the gym with me. And then my wife shows up to train with my son. Trains at 4:30. I watch him train. My wife shows up at 5:30. She trains. She takes the kids home at 7. Then I teach from 7 till about 8:30.
Okay.
So it's like a full day, but
Yeah.
like it's a fun day. I pretty much enjoy it. Sometimes I can't stand missing sporting events. That's my big thing. Like,
yeah.
But man, it's a nice, busy enough lifestyle for me that I couldn't imagine trying to do more to chase money.
Yeah, that's cool, man. No, when you were over at Navas, you were coaching the kids program as well. And I remember it was I think Wednesday was no-gi, and I'd help you out on Wednesdays. I'd help you on Wednesdays. And then you said, I can't, something was happening at the school you're going to on Wednesdays where you couldn't teach on Wednesdays. So Nava asked me if I would teach one day. I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, sure. And then I was a blue belt at the time. and then you left to take another job, like another opportunity came up. And then Nava's like, hey, you want to be the kids coach? I'm like, what? So then I started teaching kids. Yeah. And then I started, that went pretty well. And then I took a job, like I switched jobs, and the new job was like very, very like, I don't know, the guy was just different, right? There was a scheduling conflict, right? And I went to Nava and I said, hey man, I can't teach the kids. I'm sorry. But and he kind of lit up. He's like, perfect. He goes, I need somebody for the morning. He goes, I'll take the kids and you take the morning. I'm like, perfect. Right. Perfect. So I ended up being the 6 a.m. Coach where I started.
You had like a huge following back then. Remember?
Yeah. No, it was great.
You were like the first huge 6 a.m. class. Because I remember when I started teaching 6 a.m. at Lopez, I was probably a blue belt or something.
Wow.
And Gustavo was there the night before the first class. And he was like, yeah, people will come for about a month and then they'll stop showing up. I was like, what? He's like, nobody wants to train at 6 a.m.
No, he's not wrong.
And he was so right because we lasted a little while. Even me, I was like, I'm not enjoying this if no one's showing up. So like, I remember your 6 a.m. class. That was cool. And now there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
Everyone does.
It's taking off, man. My current instructor, a guy named D, he took over. He's a brown belt. He took over my 6 a.m. class at the academy, and he's grown it. Like I would get like, a pretty steady 10 to 15. Pretty steady. 8 was small. Now he's getting like, if he doesn't get 15, he's like, where the hell is everybody? Yeah. So, and I know GD has a really good 6 a.m. program as well.
Program too. And I wish I could go. I used to teach a lot of 6 a.m. classes, but now that my wife used to work weekends, which gave me all week to train all day. Yeah. It was good, but we never saw each other. I worked Monday through Friday, and she worked Friday through Sunday.
Oh,
so we never saw each other. It was just like it worked out for the kids and for teaching and everything, but it was tough. So now that she works weekdays, I can't teach 6 a.m.s anymore, and I miss those classes. I miss the students. Yeah. But I get more time on the weekends with her. So one of these days, when the kids are a little older, I'm gonna wake them up and be like, "You guys are going to 6 a.m."
Yeah, I mean, I think you've exposed them to that environment enough that they'll just adjust. It's just be another time.
They already have adjusted, to everything else. Like they ask me every day, "Are we going to jiu-jitsu today?" And I tell them on Sunday, like we're not going on Sundays. He's like, "Yes, we do. We went last Sunday," and I'm like, "No, we didn't." He's like, "We go every Sunday."
Oh my gosh!
But they go there because we don't have He's 4. We haven't started him any. We did like some preschool stuff for a little while, but it was just so expensive.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Yeah,
we're paying like $300 a week for him alone. So I just started bringing them to the gym, and now there's other kids at the gym. So like that's kind of like their little school.
Yeah.
You know? They learn everything at the gym.
Yeah, they socialize there. They do all that.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
He does classes now, so.
Yeah. So tell me about the classes that you're teaching. Are you focused on gi, no gi? Is it anything? Is it both? What are you doing?
I do both.
Okay.
I teach. So right now I'm only teaching 2 no-gi classes a week because of my schedule changed. But we used to have no-gi. I used to teach no-gi every single day.
Oh,
I taught no-gi every day and gi every day.
Wow.
I'm really big that I really feel if you really are a true, I don't want to say martial artist because I'm not really like the spiritual type, but like if you're a true grappler, and you can't do both or any rule set, you have holes in your game.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't always like no-gi, for example. I don't go to Fight to Win and say, hey, I want to fight no-gi because I've been training most of my life in the gi.
Yeah.
But I just don't say no.
Right.
You know, like they're like, hey, you want this match, no-gi? You know, adult division or no, whatever rules, 10-minute or whatever the rule says. Like, yeah, I'll do that. I don't like EBI, for example. I feel like that's the rules that I dislike the most because I see guys that they hide in the match to get to the overtime.
Yeah, of course.
Then you're good at escaping. But I would never say no. If somebody's like, hey, you want? I might say no to combat jiu-jitsu. I don't know if I want to ever get slapped. I think the older I get,
piss me off.
yeah, you know, I used to like do MMA and stuff like that when I was younger, but like I haven't been punched in the face in so long.
Dude.
I don't know what it's like anymore. So I think I don't want to do that.
I wouldn't be able to handle it. Yeah.
But yeah, I teach gi and no-gi, and I teach beginners and I teach advanced.
Okay.
And I don't teach kids anymore, but I've been getting the urge to do it again.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was younger, I was so into like competition. You know, like everything's got to be hard. Everybody's got to conform to my style of teaching.
Yeah.
And man, after my knee surgery, everything changed so much that like my game changed. Like I never liked to pass the guard when I was older, when I was a younger belt. Like I remember matches where like Gustavo was what I call him G. He'd be looking at me in the middle of a match, like he's like, go, sweep. And I'd be like, nope, not until the last 30 seconds. Because I was like, I don't want to be on top for too long. You know? If I went on top for too long, I have to pass.
Right.
And after my knee surgeries, I was afraid to have my leg. When I was on bottom, when people grab your pants, they could twist your legs a lot, you know? And like, I just didn't feel comfortable with that,
I get it.
You know, like they're trying to Toriundo and I'm trying to fight back. So I started passing. You got to
pummel your feet and do all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I started passing more and I just love passing the guard, and it gave me appreciation for the older guys that play on their knees and play half guard. First, I try to make every guard a half guard pass. Like if someone's in spider guard, I try to get to their knee shield. That's where I want to start my passing sequence from. So obviously it might start from somewhere else, but I try to get to there. But then you end up in a lot of positions that everybody can do. Like, let's say I have a crossface and I get flat half, right? And he's got my knee line and he's looking for the underhook and I'm trying to block the underhook. Yeah. That's a position that like masters divisions, younger people, middle, everybody has to play these positions, you know? So it just taught me how to appreciate different styles of jiu-jitsu. And I don't know if my game looks anything like it did. I mean, I know like some days I play a lot of lapel guard in the gym because people ask me to. Yeah. But if you watch me in the gym, I usually I look for the easy sweep to get on top, and then I try to pressure pass. Yeah, you know, and I enjoy it, and I it just changed the way that I teach now. So now, like, I'm so open to teaching different styles. I study a lot, but I don't study the way I used to.
How so?
So I used to break down a lot of like what do you call them, like BJJ fanatics, you know, like people's videos they put out. Yeah. And I like that, but I feel like when I hear something in one person's voice, I have to think that way, and me and that person might not think the same way. So I like to just watch videos of competitors doing the same technique over and over, and I might change the technique, you know, because let's say I'm teaching like a De La Riva position to a featherweight, but I'm also teaching it to a master's 210-pound heavyweight. Gotcha. It's not the same. Yeah. You can't do it the same, you know? Right. So like I feel like I always tell my students, if I teach something one way, I'm totally okay with you changing a grip, adjusting an angle, switching it a little bit because we're not the same. We don't move the same. Yeah. So my teaching style, I think it fits pretty much everything right now. So I teach no-gi, I teach gi, and I enjoy both of them. I might get burned out on one or the other here and there. Like if I have a bad week, no-gi. Yeah. So a couple weeks ago, I lost my no-gi match on Fight to Win. It was kind of a tough match. And for like a week, I was like, I like gi better. You know, I like gi better this week. And then I got to teach no-gi anyways. You know, you have one good no-gi session. You're like, oh, okay, I like no-gi too. I just, whatever. Yeah. But then like you watched the Worlds last week, And I thought the Worlds was amazing.
It was incredible.
And
isn't it like a different level now?
Yeah.
It's a different level.
One thing, too, to talk about the gi, no gi debate.
Yeah.
First off, I think the no gi guys hate the gi, and everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
But the hate on the gi from guys on Flow, like Mike, whatever the guy, Mike Flow, whatever the guy that used to do the shows, the interview shows, he would always say, I'll never have a no gi match on who's number one, you know? That, I think, got the gi guys to be like, we can't do 50-50 the way we used to play.
Yeah.
We got to look for submissions more.
Yeah.
There's got to be more jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
There's less stalling, you know? And if you watch this weekend, the 50-50 is not as
gone.
It's like it happens, but I can feel the energy of the people in the match. Like, I don't want to be here. They all see me in this position. I want to be exciting.
Yeah.
So like, even matches that were like close matches, an advantage to advantage is nothing. It's like that match was awesome.
Yeah.
So much good jiu-jitsu. And for anybody who can't appreciate one or the other, that sucks, you know, because like when I watch ADCC, I might be like, this is the greatest event ever.
100%.
And then I watch Worlds, like, this is the greatest event ever.
I think they both have their, I hate to call it charm, but they both have their draw.
Yeah.
Like, I love the idea of, so I love a dynamic match. Where you got guys with a good wrestling background that are badass jiu-jitsu players. And I also love, you know, the interlocking fingers and one guy sits down. That's the technical, very chess matchy kind of thing, right? Yeah. Taking away the other person's strengths. That I'm all about that. Yeah. But I also love you know, when people are wrapping each other up with their lapels, playing a bunch of lapel guard. Not a fan of the 50-50. Yeah. I do one thing in 50-50. I get the hell out of 50-50. Yeah. And not that it's boring. I just, I don't feel comfortable there. Right.
I feel the same. And, you know, it was interesting this weekend. Victor Hugo was talking about the 50-50, and he was saying how, like, it gets a bad rap because of the way people used it. Yeah. And that he thinks that he can revolutionize it. And I hope he can. Yeah. Because, like, I remember Rafa Mendes and Cobrinha, like, 2014 or so, Pans, I believe. And Rafa had a back take from 50-50. It was so sick. You know? Yeah. And, of course, like, there was for every cool thing, there's probably 10 negative things that happened at the time. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But now, like, the energy when you get stuck in 50-50 is like, okay, I could sweep, but I got to get out of here because nobody wants to see this.
Nobody wants to see it.
And somebody might post about, like, you know, Marigali or Gordon or somebody, one of those guys is going to say something. Yeah. Yeah. Like, if you're a big name and they see you they're going to call you out. People nowadays are way more open to being controversial with social media. So, like, I think that helped. Yeah. As much as it sucks to see all the negative back and forth between people, I think people are like, you know what, I got to be a little more exciting. And I think for the sport, like in the long run, I think is great. I think the competition between the two sports is good. I think the hatred between people, I don't like. Yeah. Like, I don't like that, like, some people don't like people because they do the gi or they have something to say about people who do no gi only. Yeah. I just think that we should appreciate both. 100%. I think it's awesome. Yeah. I think if I was younger and I could wrestle more if my knees were better, I might even focus more on no-gi, you know, but I try to focus 50% on each thing. And I actually, like, I just do whatever I want. Yeah. If I like no-gi, I just train more no-gi. Yeah. You know, like, if I'm not feeling good in the gi, I train more, or if I'm not feeling good no-gi, I train more gi. And that's why, like, at the point in my life where I'm at, I don't have any pressure in matches anymore. Like, I have pressure, like, sometimes because I just came back recently from the knee thing, and I kind of want to, it's like, I feel like I missed about 3 or 4 years of being competitive and being like at that top tier. Yeah. So, like, I pressure on myself to be good because I know I'm good. Like, in the gym, there are days when I'm like, man, that was such a great day. I rolled with this person, but there's pressure like that. But I never feel like you have to win. You know? Right. I never feel that way anymore. Yeah. And it made jiu-jitsu way easier, actually. Yeah. I had to make a decision. Like, the only tournament I care about is Master Worlds. Yeah. That's the only one that matters. Yeah. So I focus heavy on the gi because I had to kind of make a decision. So I'm training gi 4 days a week. I'm lifting 3 days a week. I barely have a recovery day, like barely, because and I'm working all the time, you know. So I had to really kind of sell out and do that.
But I think what I'm going to do is after Master Worlds, maybe shut down the gi unless I'm teaching and start focusing on no-gi Worlds.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. So it kind of had my 2 seasons.
Did they change the heel hook rule for just Masters 1 still? Is it still
just Masters 1, yeah.
See, that makes it a little easier.
Yeah.
Because, like, a lot of times people don't want to jump in the no-gi because you're like, I'm not afraid of the heel hooks, but I don't want to be stuck in a bad spot where I don't realize how bad it is and then get hurt.
Yeah.
So I think your game will play great in no-gi, and I think like when you start to learn hand fighting, stuff like that, like there's only a few things that I needed to learn before I was like, okay, I know no-gi. I didn't know it, but like I learned how to hand fight a little bit, learn how to control people's underhooks and stuff like that. And no-gi is I think you're gonna transition fine to no-gi as long as you just try to be yourself and don't try to change your game. Like I kind of hate when people go to no-gi and they're like, all of a sudden this dude who was like great at this is like, oh, I'm a leg locker now. Yeah. It's like, man, you don't have to be a leg locker to win. Win. You can be good at leg locks and not just abandon everything else, So I think it'll be fun for you. It'll be a good challenge.
Yeah, it will. It will. Making that transition, I'm kind of excited about it. But I'm really happy that you said that about the relationship between the gi and the no gi, and really, like, I feel that if you're going to train jiu-jitsu, you should be a little bit more open-minded. But a funny thing happens. A couple things happen. We'll just talk about coaching real quick. So I get the opportunity to coach kids every once in a while because I have 2 young, super, active competitors, as coaches. So when they leave town, I step in. And when I started coaching kids for Navas, and you tell me if this happened to you, I would ramp up. We competed a lot back in the day. So I would ramp up to a competition. Competition would happen, and it would either go well or not. But after, man, I'd just hit a slump. Yeah. Like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to look at anybody. I certainly don't want to do jiu-jitsu tomorrow. But I had to show up and coach on Monday.
Yeah, that helps. That
helps a lot, right? Yeah. And the kids have this energy, and they don't care whether you won or lost. I mean, maybe some of them do, but they don't really care if you won or lost. They're just glad you're back. Yeah, sure. And that gives you a lot of energy. Do you ever feel that?
I just had that last week.
Did you?
So I had my fight to win a couple weeks ago. And I knew we had San Diego coming up to go coach, and like I was talking to you before the podcast. With my wife's schedule, I wasn't able to coach for a couple years on the weekends. Like maybe I can sneak an hour in here because I have 2 young kids at home. And now that she's has weekends off, like I can make it work. So we had San Diego after the fight to win, and then I had coaching at Worlds. Small group of competitors, but I was like excited to coach. Yeah. So I'm not thinking about myself. You know? Like even in the classes, like I'm not training as much. So I watch a lot of like one of my biggest influencers has been the Mendez brothers. Yeah, and I watch a lot of Guy Mendez. Like it was pretty cool because when I was coming up, I got to see them when they first got their black belt, their first world. I saw every world title in person. Wow. And they coached against me a lot. I fought a lot of their students a ton, and it was really. I went to their seminar. I rolled with Hoffa, so I've always followed them, and I watch Guy a lot, and I see a lot of times. I don't know if this is how it is in the video or my how I think it is, but I feel like he's not training with his students as much when it comes to big tournaments, because he wants to be able to be involved. Yep. So I'm constantly watching more, and I'm not training for myself as much, when there's a tournament coming up. Yeah. So then I get a little bit like lazy with my diet, maybe. Yeah. Like I said, I have 2 young kids at home. There's always fruit snacks. Right. We always got some kind of juices, and and I get home at 8:30. The wife goes to bed by 9. And no one's there to tell me what to eat. And I'm the worst at night. Like I don't want to go to bed because I've been teaching all day, so I stay up till midnight, like purposely, so I can just have some time to like live a regular life. Not just do jiu-jitsu. And so I just started feeling myself like getting a little out of shape already. Like I think the older you get, I'm 36, I'll be 37 in a few months. Like it doesn't take long.
No, you're feeling it.
4 days of eating bad, and like we went to California, you're drinking with your friends, and you're. So then, like, I'm back at the gym, and I'm training hard. I'm doing good. And just 2 days ago, one of my blue belts armbarred me because I remember the round. So in the round, he's like a heavier guy, but I think he's a judo black belt or a judo brown belt. Okay, he's awesome. He's a good wrestler. Yeah. Awesome younger kid. And we roll, and the round starts off, and he times my pull, like he kicks my leg. And everyone's like, "That's 2." I'm like, "Oh yeah, fine. Watch this." So I sweep him. I pass his guard, and then I mount him. Right. Yeah. But then like. I go for an arm bar. He comes up on top, and he has like a flat half or something. The round ends and I'm stuck in flat half. Like it was horrible. I remember thinking like, I hate being stuck. So I'm sitting there and we have like a minute and a half and I'm tired. I'm pretty tired. Like I'm dead tired, but I'm still upset.
Yeah.
It's like, how did that happen to me? So I'm like, Logan, we're going to go again. And he looks at me and he's like, and then somebody else is asking me to roll. And I'm like, no, I'm going with Logan.
Yeah.
And I knew I was just so tired, but I was like, screw it. I'm going to get him back. And however that round's going, like I sweep him and I'm stacking him and he starts like going for an arm bar, a little bit like a Kimura grip.
Yeah.
And I'm putting my knee on the back of his leg so he can't pressure. And I'm like, I just got to rip my arm out. So I stand up to rip my arm out, but when I took my knee off his leg, he arm barred me.
Oh, nice.
So I go home and and I was thinking about this podcast and I was like, I gotta get a haircut for the podcast.
Yeah.
But whenever I need to ramp up my jiu-jitsu, I shave my head.
Okay.
I buzz my hair, I don't shave it, I just buzz it. So like I tell Vanessa I buzz my hair. I tell her what happened. I'm like, I got arm bar. And anytime something like that happens, I go home and I tell her, it's like blue belt past my guard. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't know if I messed up or if I was going too light. I don't know. So, he armbarred me and I was like, you got to wake up, Josh. You were getting into that little slump.
Yeah.
You know, and I tell people like sometimes a slump turns from a day to a week, from a week to a month.
Yeah.
And you're going to come out of it, but it happens and it happens a lot.
Yeah. You're going to come out of it 10 pounds heavier, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. Like for me, I like to live life and be fun as much as I like to do jiu-jitsu. So if I don't stay focused, like in jiu-jitsu, I can lose I love sports, man. I love sports. I love playing with my kids and I could lose my focus. And then like, next thing you know, it's like been 3 or 4 days and I haven't been training hard and I'm losing my edge a little bit. So I kind of remind myself like, you're not that old yet, Josh, you know, like and I still feel like I'm in my prime. Like I think, maybe my knees might not agree with me, but I think I'm in my prime and I try not to get into those slumps. And you know what helped is taking the pressure off myself. Before, like, when I was teaching, I started teaching a lot as a purple belt, and like by brown belt, I was teaching full class, like all day long, you know. And by the end of the year, with all the competitions, it's like I don't want to train at all.
Yeah,
I remember Worlds camps, you know, where like we would do our maybe like at 9 a.m. training session, and then I had to teach at 10 a.m. with all the Worlds competitors in it, guys that are way better than me.
Wow,
you know, I'm a brown belt. I'm teaching class with these guys that are way better than me. It was insane, like to think about it now. But like it was cool for them to tell me that I was doing all right. Like I always asked, like,
of course,
like, am I doing okay?
Of course, yeah.
They're like, dude, it's fine. I would get tips and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd always burn out, you know, like at some point, and I was like, hopefully it wasn't before the Worlds, you know. But I was cutting a lot of weight too. I was like, I had to be 139, and I was always about 155. And Gustavo would always ask me, "What's your weight?" And I would always lie, be like 146, and he'd be like, "Good, because I moved you to light feather." And I'd be like, "Great," you know.
Oh shit!
And I'd have to cut so much weight, but like, you know, training with like Aaron Wilson and like Tyson, those guys cut so much weight all the time.
Yeah,
I would just do it. You know, you do it, and it would just take its toll. And by the end of the year, like, it would just. I don't think they would like backfire big time, but I just didn't enjoy training.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you encourage your young competitors to cut weight?
Some of them.
Some of them?
I think some people, it depends on the person.
Okay.
You know, like, I have a student. His name's Dylan Barrett. He's like as tall as me, but he makes rooster.
Oh wow.
I think it's crazy. Like I tell him, like, dude, you don't have to make that weight. But then again, he makes it. I'm like, you made it. And you're okay? Like, okay, I guess you can do it, you know, but he's like, he pays for a nutritionist. I never did any of this as a blue belt.
Right.
Pays for a nutritionist, like he has a personal trainer, and he hasn't like had the success that he wants to have yet. But like, man, if I had that professionalism as a lower belt, I think it would have went a long way, you know? So like looking back, I think I could have used something like that to help my weight cuts. And then there are guys like now, if you see guys like, I don't know, like Rolando Sampson or Andy Murasaki, or those are guys that I came up with. Like Rolando Sampson, me and him were on a lot of podiums together as a lower belts, but we were at light feather at 140 pounds. Yeah. And now he's fighting in the middleweight, and he looks fine. He's like a shorter guy, but he's probably one of my favorite guys to watch and study. Yeah. And so sometimes I'm like, man, it's not for everybody, the weight cutting, and it depends on your style. Yeah. Depends on who is on your team. You know, and it depends on your toughness. Not everybody can do it, you know? Like, if you can't mentally do it, like, I can tell usually by the second or third time I ask someone, if they're like, I'm thinking about it, I was like,
you're done.
For me, like, I was glad Gustavo kind of forced me to do it.
Yeah.
You know, because the first time I did it, I was a purple belt, and I was fighting featherweight, and I was always doing well, man. Like, I'd always win, like, 4 fights of the Worlds, you know? Yeah. Imagine training so hard, you get to the Worlds, You win 4 fights, you go into the 5th round. You're like, if I win this round, I'm in the medal rounds.
Medal rounds.
And you're sure. I was sure. I was like, I'm gonna win. I'm on fire.
Yeah.
And then you lose. So I finally, like Gustavo was like telling me to try light feather, and I do the weight cut, and I had a lot of fun doing it because I was watching a lot of UFC at the time. I was watching a lot of the higher. I just acted like I was somebody else.
Yeah.
I acted like I was a pro fighter.
Yeah.
I would sometimes my first year of doing it, my diet was pretty crazy. I would buy shredded chicken from Costco, like the canned shredded chicken.
Yeah.
I'd pour it on a plate and I'd put a little hot sauce and cheese on it.
That was it.
Man, and maybe some rice. You know? And then once Orlando like came out, actually he was there, but we were making our own food. Everybody, because we were all so broke. Yeah. Nobody would make food for everybody because like I can't afford food for everybody. I just make whatever.
Yeah.
And then a lot of nights I would just be like, just go to bed. You're hungry, but if you just go to bed, that's good for you.
You'll be fine. Yeah.
And I remember coming home from practice like hungry, and I'd eat something and I'd just go to sleep because if I stayed up, I was gonna eat
more. Yeah.
So like it was, and then when I got to
that was actually probably good for you to get all that sleep.
Good for me. It was good for me. And I remember the night before the tournament, we're talking about the tournament, and he's asking about the matches. I was like, G, I haven't even thought about the tournament. I'm just trying to make weight.
Yeah.
And that was huge because, like, people look at the brackets. They start looking at, like, oh, the third fight's against this guy.
Yeah.
The second fight's I got to fight a Brazilian in the first round.
Yeah.
Back then there wasn't a ton of Brazilians in the States. So, like, you'd see a Brazilian in the first round.
Holy shit. Yeah.
So the weight cut, like, took all the pressure off.
Yeah.
And my first year at light feather, I made it to the quarterfinals. Probably the 4th fight, maybe. I think I might have had to buy a 4th or 5th fight.
Wow.
And I'm fighting Wolf Barnado. And he was a bigger name back then. He runs a gym in Northern California. I think it's Black Sheep Jiu-Jitsu. Cool guy. And I was winning, and I could hear Fei Zhao. He's one of the best coaches. If you ever met him, he's just so loud. Like, he coaches the Sodre brothers. He's got a team in Club of Fei Zhao in Brazil.
Did he do your Worlds Camp one?
Yeah,
okay.
You could hear him yelling.
I remember the video that came out. Yeah, he was booming voice.
I'll talk about that Worlds Camp, so I'll bring that up. That was fun.
Yeah.
But the match, he's yelling at me, just stay, Joshy, just stay, because it's like 40 seconds, and I'm like, wow, I'm going to win, and like I felt great the whole match, like everything's going good, and he kicked me in the chest. I'm sitting. Imagine you're sitting in combat base, and I'm just stalling my ass off. I'm not even stalling. I'm sitting back. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. He kind of kicked me in the chest a little bit, and I just start kind of falling back. He grabs a single leg, comes up on the single leg. I'm pushing the head.
No.
He gets to he turns. I turn. He gets like a body lock. He jumps on my back. I think actually I fell first. I get back up. I think the ref gave an advantage.
Oh, shit.
He jumps on my back, tries to get the hooks in or something, and then like somehow he got another advantage. He got 2 advantages in the last 30 seconds or whatever, and I lost. And I remember being in shock because Fei Zhao he's the best coach when it comes to like arguing with the refs.
Yeah.
Like, he's just yelling at the ref in Portuguese, and they used to always tell me if you don't have a Brazilian coach, the refs are never going to listen. They don't. I had experience this weekend with it. If you're American, yell at the refs, they don't care.
Yeah.
He's yelling at the ref, and I'm like, are they going to change it? Did I win that? I lost.
Yeah.
And I lost. And it's like all that weight cut for nothing. But then like I remember that guy. He had an interview. He won the Worlds.
Okay.
He had an interview, and he was like, toughest match was against me. He said that.
Right on.
And that motivated me. Like, this is it. And I remember G and Fei Zhao saying like, I think we found your weight class.
Okay.
It's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
But if you're professional, you can. So I started getting like I had a meal sponsor. Like they'd bring me my meals.
Oh, nice.
I get 10 a week, like 2 per day.
Perfect.
I wouldn't eat them though. I eat like 3 of them. I eat like 3 of them, and I'd be like, ugh. And I remember the guy, I'd be like, yeah, it's not that good. He's like, it's not supposed to be good. You just need the nutrients.
Yes.
So like throughout the
It's
years,
fuel.
Throughout the years, it got harder and harder. And once I knew I could make it got hard because then I knew I could cheat.
Yeah.
You cheat and you make it. And I remember like one of the worst experiences ever. Actually, first time was with you guys in New York. Remember New York?
Yeah, dude, that was
we had
awesome.
a great trip in New York.
That was a great trip, but
Like,
you were pissed that first night.
Remember how I was so mad at Paul because we're in the hotel and like I know I'm close.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was always like I made it by 0.2 every time.
Yeah.
And I know I'm close. I'm like, we gotta go. He's like, you don't fight till 3. I was like, well, we're in New Jersey. Like actually, the night before, we're going to the hotel, and like I'm looking at the maps, and I'm like, Paul, this says New Jersey.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, New Jersey, New York, same thing.
No, it's not.
I was like, what? I've never been in New York in my life.
We had to go across the George Washington Bridge every day.
Yeah.
And then it was like 45 minutes to the venue.
Yeah. And we remember on the way, but the first day, we stopped at a Whole Foods.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're stopping at a Whole Foods. What are we doing? You know? And so we finally get to the venue. I just run inside. And I remember like I'm running in circles. I can't even get inside.
Yeah.
Then we're in New York. They got to search your bag. Everywhere you go, they search your bag.
Yeah.
I run to the scale. Like they're already calling my name. I run to the scale. I get on. I'm like 0.3 over, 0.4 over or something.
Yeah, I remember that.
So someone's like, go to the bathroom, go pee. I'm like, how am I going to pee? He's like, take a sip of water. Took a sip of water. I peed. Came back. I was the same weight. So like now I'm arguing with the mat coordinator. I'm like, dude, this guy does not want a free win. I look at my competitor. I'm like, you don't want a free win? And he doesn't say nothing. I'm like, just say I'm good. It's a 0.2. Let me in. Let me in. I'm arguing. And they're like, boom, DQ'd.
Oh.
So I'm walking away. And then I remember someone's like, you didn't take your underwear off? I was like, dude, I would have done that. But I know it's illegal to do that, actually.
But you can get away with it.
Yeah.
You can get away. I've known people to get away with it.
I would have done it.
Yeah.
I would have done it.
Fuck yeah, you would have done it. Yeah.
So the next day, I had signed up for no-gi.
Take your underwear.
Yeah.
So real quick, for people who don't know, we went to New York to do a tournament. This was, I can't remember the year, 2016, 17, something like that.
Brown belt. I was a brown belt.
Yeah. So day one, they do gi. And you've got to be, if you're going to do gi, you've got to be basically, what is it, like about 4 pounds lower than the actual weight.
Yeah.
Well, the following day is no-gi, and you have to be lighter than the day of gi.
But I knew, because no-gi was like 136.
Yeah.
And I had to be 138 to make gi. And I was like, man, I'm probably going to go out with the guys. Right? At the gi, I'm like, I'm not going to not eat.
Right.
Or maybe even have a drink, right?
Yeah.
So I signed up for the weight class above.
Yeah.
It was like one.
I didn't do that. That was stupid.
You know?
That was stupid. Yeah.
So anyways, I remember, I'm so upset. I get all the candy in the world.
I remember that.
I eat all the candy in the world at my hotel, and I'm just like,
my God.
how am I going to tell Gustavo I miss weight?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I miss weight. How embarrassing. You know, I can miss weight. Who am I going to, I'm not going to tell nobody.
Right.
And the next day I do no-gi, and back then there wasn't a lot of no-gis. Probably my first no-gi tournament of the year.
Yeah.
And I just knew I liked Darce chokes. I did a lot of Darce chokes and stuff like that. And the first guy was a Marcelo Garcia guy, and he was ranked #1 in the world. And I was like, oh, great. Of course, I get Marcelo. I'm going to miss weight, then I got to fight this guy. And I remember he shot a double leg, and I darced him like in 30
fell asleep?
seconds. Yeah, that was the final.
Oh, okay.
The first guy didn't fall asleep. The second fight, I had a tough fight. I don't remember how I won. I won back and forth. And then third fight was like the same. I had good darce, and I put the guy to sleep.
Yeah.
And that was like my first major tournament as a brown belt that I won. Because I had won stuff coming up through all the belts, but brown belt was like, dude, these guys are all pretty much black belts. I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to win if I keep losing brown belt matches. I was always winning matches, but I'd lose like in the final.
Yeah.
I lost to this kid, Edwin Najmi, all the time, by the way, all the time. And so I finally got that W, and man, that was like, that was pretty big for me to believe that I could win. So
yeah.
That was my first time missing weight, though, so going back to the weight thing. And but when I won the gi, it was like, okay, we're fine. I'll tell Gustavo what happened. He'll be okay because I won.
Yeah.
But as I went, I kept cutting weight, and at some point, really after the knee surgery was when I stopped.
Oh, really?
I cut weight all the way through up until like 31 years old.
Okay.
And it just got harder and harder. I missed weight one other time. Gustavo actually sent me to Chicago. So he paid for my trip.
Wow.
Because he was like, man, you need to keep competing. And he sent me to Chicago. And I just remember, like, I think this is one of those times I was lying about my weight. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm almost there already. And in the airport, I was so hungry. Like, I was having a hard time training. I was so hungry. And I was like, I saw one of those naked drinks. It was like the big green one. And I was like, it's green. It's got to be healthy. So I drink the biggest one, and I get to Chicago. And when I get to my hotel, it's like midnight. It's snowing outside, and I have no scale and no bath.
Oh, no.
And there's a treadmill. So I go to the treadmill, and I'm running, and I can't sweat.
Oh, no.
I'm like, I'll just do it in the morning.
Was it too cold in that room?
I think I just had nothing left in my body. Like, I had I've had that happen before. I don't know if you ever cut weight.
Yeah, well,
sometimes you just like get to a point where it's hard to sweat.
Yeah.
That's where you need the hot bath.
Yep.
But I had no hot bath. So I get to the tournament, and I remember Danny O.D., he now works with IBJJF, and Herlando were there, and they're like, just go run. And I'm running, and I'm wearing like extra gis. I'm running, and at some point I kept checking the scale, and I just go sit down. Herlando's like, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, I'm still 0.7 over. I'm not going to lose the weight. I'm trying all day. And I had to call Gustavo, and he called me maybe. I don't know how it happened. It was the worst. That was the time when I decided, like, I'll never miss weight again. Yeah. Because that conversation, if you're a fighter or a grappler, like your coach, you don't want to disappoint them. Yeah. Or your parents or anybody, like, like I remember Orlando. It didn't bug me as much as him, but he was like, "What do you mean you're not going to come weigh in?" He's like, "Just come try." I was like, "I'm not going down there." You know? And that was like a big wake up call for me to. That like maybe I don't need to cut weight, or maybe I need to take it more serious. Like either way, I'm gonna have to make a decision.
Yeah, that's definitely a wake up call for anybody. I mean, I've seen people who are like people that I YouTube, like people that I don't want to say idolize, but I kind of follow them, like I try to model them, and I've seen them lose weight or miss weight.
Yeah,
and I'm like, it just happens. It can happen, and I'm so scared of missing weight. I'll start cutting like 2 weeks early.
Yeah,
I just start throwing on sweats and getting smaller.
I used to do the same thing. Yeah, I remember like cutting, sweating weight. And people were like, "Josh, it's when you're sweating, you're gonna put that weight back on. You're just trying to." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm burning calories."
Yeah. Well, and like you said, like you choose to believe something that makes you feel better. Yeah. Like that's something that it's a placebo thing. I don't know what it is, but if I'm sweating, I feel better about my weight.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
And that's just the way it is.
I remember my dad telling me like I think I was in between apartments or something. I was thinking my dad's before a big tournament, and he's like, "What are you doing? You've been running all day. You're doing it's like 9 o'clock at night. He comes out. I'm doing sit-ups in a sweatsuit. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I gotta make weight."
Yeah.
He's like, "You've been running all day. You're gonna be fine." Because he grew up watching me play sports, like 2 hours of practice maybe, and then you go do a regular life.
Yeah,
kid,
yeah,
you know? So, but it was like train in the morning, run all day, train at night. You know, because by the time I was sure that I was gonna win a world championship.
Yeah.
Any day now, you know, so I'll do this work. I'll do the work, you know. Yeah. But now, like, man, I think I remember cutting weight sometimes, and after I would tell Gustavo, like, man, those guys are light feather, maybe just as good as the guys a feather. It might be the same. Might not make that much of a difference, you know. I did feel a difference going to lightweight. Like from 54 to 168, I always felt like, man, 68's too heavy for me.
Yeah.
I've always felt like I can play that game. You know, in the gym, but in a tournament when people have like nerves and anxiousness, like they're heavier. Yeah. They're giving everything. So I had a hard time with that. But going down, I felt like sometimes like, man, these guys feel the same. Yeah. Some of these guys do. You know, you're bigger than some guys. But so I think it's important to be tough and to earn your spot in the division. Mm-hmm. But like, it doesn't have to mean weight cutting. Yeah. It could mean weight cutting, but it's different for everybody. Yeah. And you know, one thing that people overlook as well, or they don't understand, when you come from a jiu-jitsu school, you may have a teammate that's the same weight. Yeah. In the same division. Yeah. At the same tournament. And then it's decision time. Do you guys take 2 spots in the bracket, or does somebody go up or down? Right. I had that happen. Yeah. With two of my roommates. So like this happened a couple years back, and 2 purple belts, pretty good purple belts, and like one guy was a middleweight, and he would always cut to light, and the lightweight guy was actually bigger than him, you know. Whoa. But he would cut to light, and he did this entire weight cut. And I remember Gustavo like, dude, you guys could match up against each other. Yeah, because there's 3 of you guys now, because that's the Worlds. If you're on the Worlds, they put you on different sides of the bracket. Perfect. But now there was 3 of them. And I'm telling my friend, like, dude, you put in so much work into this weight cut. Like, I'll do the cut, and if you have to fight him, so be it. Yeah. And then the brackets came out first round. No way. First round Worlds. And I remember telling that, because he was like, I'll just bow out. And I was like, no, don't bow out. You did all that work. Yeah. Like, and not looking back, like, he lost, and I felt like that kind of affected him because he lost to his teammate. Yeah. And maybe bowing out might not have been a horrible idea, but like, sometimes the weight cut can put you in a worse match. You know, you never know exactly how it's going to work out. And when you're going to the Worlds, the Pans, everybody's so good anyways. Yeah. So everybody's like, in shape. Everybody's ready. You can't run from anyone. Yeah. If you try to run from someone, you're going to get something else. Yeah. You know? Yeah. It's not like, you know, people look at like the Opens as big tournaments. But if you've never competed before, they seem like big tournaments. Yeah. But it could be something like, oh, you know, Phoenix Open is coming up. I'll just sign up with it. You know, you're not really committed. But when you go to Worlds, bro. Yeah, I remember the conversations before Worlds. Gustavo would sit us down, because back then we'd bring like 30 guys, and like 15 of them I was like, they could all medal, you know. Yeah. But there'd always be people who probably shouldn't be there, and he would be like, he would sit us down and he'd be talking. I was like, this is not the Pans. This is not the Europeans. This is not the Brazilian Nationals. It's not even an Open. This is the World Championships. He's like, if you want to go and you're not supposed to go, give me $20. I'll buy you a T-shirt. Yeah. You know? It's like, save yourself. Yeah. The money, the investment, the time you're not really even putting into it. Because some people are like, oh, I'm putting the time in. It's like, you know, just because you're in the class doesn't mean you're putting the time in. Right. Like, you need to be holding yourself accountable inside the class. Like, the coaches can hold you accountable by telling you what to do, but you could dog a workout. You know, like, I could be doing something at 40% and nobody notices. but I notice, so like,
bro, yeah,
the world is so different.
Yeah, I sweat when I eat.
Yeah.
You think I'm not gonna sweat on the mats? You know what I mean? Like, I can fake a good sweat.
Exactly.
But I tell my students, like the newer guys that want to compete, I was like, man, you got to get 20 to 25 competition level rounds a week minimum.
Yeah.
And then I was watching this podcast with, I believe it's Leandro Lowe was on a podcast with Andre Galval. And is in Portuguese, so
I saw some of that. It was good.
And he was saying he does 18 rounds a day. Yeah, he does three training sessions, 18 rounds a day.
Yeah, you know what though, like the old school Brazilian style, that's how it is. Like,
yeah,
I've been to Brazil and I've trained a little bit, but I was always cutting weight, so I was not training that much.
Yeah,
but they come in, they show a technique, and then it's porrada.
Wow,
it's like one technique, and it could be a random technique. Well, now I'm thinking things are changing, But we're gonna show a technique. Everyone's gonna drill it for 20 minutes, and then we're gonna roll for 2 hours. You know, and you can sit out a round, but you better not sit out 2 in a row.
Right.
That's how I still tell my students, if you're a competitor, I don't mind you sitting around.
Yeah.
But if you sit out 2 in a row, then I lose a little bit of my confidence in what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
So that's how the Andrew Lowe and those guys were. Like, even like Orlando, he's not old school, but that kid will roll. Orlando Montero, I'm talking about. Yeah. That kid will roll 10 rounds in a day.
He's an animal.
And then he'll go to the gym.
Yeah.
And then he'll come back at night and maybe do it again, So
yeah.
And I used to like that too. Like, actually still my favorite training session is open mat.
Yeah.
I'll go into open mat because with my life, I'm like, I don't have as much time.
Yeah.
So I always say, like, man, in an hour, I can get 7 rounds that I get out of there.
Yeah.
Just no talking, no hanging out. Just get it in, get it out. I can get 7 straight tough rounds if I want, you know? And that's another thing too, is like when you're what kind of rounds?
Yeah.
Anybody, that's the one thing about class, is you could pick your own rounds. Don't hide from people. Like, I'll apologize to my students sometimes. Like, let's say I have like scrappy blue belt wrestler in the room, and some days I'm like, I'm gonna roll with him today. And then like the end of the day, I'm like, and then like I'm walking out, I'm like, this kid Ronan. I'm like, Ronan, I'm sorry, I didn't roll with you today. He's like, huh? I was like, I told myself I was gonna roll with you, but I just didn't want to fight you.
Yeah.
Because some people is like I'm confident
fight
in my jiu-jitsu, but man, I'm not training some of these. I'm fighting some of these guys. Like, it's gonna be a fight. And like I love that about myself, that I like to scrap and everything. But that's the difference. Like, what kind of rounds are you rolling?
Yeah.
So, and I know Leandro's probably 18 hard, crazy rounds.
Oh, crazy. Yeah. I mean, and you look at the training partners that he trains with. I mean, it's impressive.
So for your guys that are going to Worlds, do you guys do like competition classes?
Yeah. So we do, I mean, evening classes. Josh is our head instructor for the evening classes. And, he does a lot of, technique situationals and rounds, and it's really on them to get the hard rounds.
Yeah.
But Sunday we have a closed session from 8 to 9:30. It's not invite only, but it's not inclusive. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to want to be there. Yeah. And I don't announce it.
Right.
It's not on our schedule. If you show up, great. If you don't, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's on you. Mm-hmm. But it's all like, I break it up into cardio, situational, and then rounds. And it's usually like Shark Tank and then regular rounds. Mm-hmm. And that's really where they get their, I would say, probably their toughest training. And I'll even make like a situational suck.
Yeah.
So I do like a lot of sprints. We'll do like 2-minute rounds. Yeah. The first round is sprints across the mat with push-ups on each side. Mm-hmm. And then the second minute is a live round.
Yeah.
And you got to grind out that win.
I do that. I do kind of the same. And you know what? Like, maybe I'm wrong for this, but when I get the vibe they don't like something, I make them do more.
Me
of it.
too.
I'm just like, oh, you're going to jog? Because I'll tell them after every hard session, whatever we're doing, 10 push-ups and 2 laps. And while you're doing your laps, you're going to fix your gi. No one's going to put their hands on their head. Right. I want you to fake it. If you're tired, head up, mouth closed. And if I see somebody like take too long to get up, like, all right, actually, everybody on the line. Yeah. And they're like, what do you mean on the line? I'm like, we're going to do sprints or something that nobody wants to do. And then they'll be like, I'll get messages like, we're not playing football, then quit. Don't come I won't say quit, like, don't come to my competition class. Right, yeah. Like, you can go to those classes all day. We have classes from 6 a.m., 10 a.m., like all day long. Yeah. You don't have to compete. Right. And also, like, I like when I can tell somebody, like, I'll be in the middle of class and I can get that vibe and I'll be like, listen, guys, if you can't physically make it, if you are not tough enough to do this class, just walk out. I don't mind. It's okay. Yeah. And I say almost like, if you walk out, like if I walked out, I'd be embarrassed, right? Yeah. So I want them to feel like, I can do that. Because then after, they always tell me the people who I can see like they're not doing great in the class, like cardio wise, they're not feeling it. When they're done, they always like it. After the next day, they always like, oh, I was so sore yesterday. It was awesome.
It's kind of like you're it's a confidence builder.
Yeah.
If you can make it through that class, you think you can't train in the evenings, grind it out.
Do this.
Absolutely. And the worst words I ever hear in training, especially like Navas and going to GD and training with you, is one more round. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm so fucking tired. I don't, that's the last thing you want to hear.
I always say the worst feeling in jiu-jitsu, like physically, is when I'm exhausted and somebody asks me to roll. Because I know I'm gonna say yeah. I know it, but like I'm like, oh, now.
Yeah. So one thing that happened to me, and I don't do this as much anymore, but one thing that happened to me was we were in Vegas. It was one of the Vegas Opens, like 2014 or 15, somewhere in there, and that's when they had the old venue, that little sports arena.
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool. So I finished the match, and I ended the guy pretty quick, So I finished the match as white belt, and then I start walking away, and the mat coordinator is like walking opposite direction in front of me, and she turns me around. She goes, "Oh no, you're next." I'm like, "Well, I just finished," and she goes, "No, well, you're next. My water is in the bullpen." Yeah. And I was next, so I didn't have any water. I mean, my mouth is dry. Go in, and the next match went the full 5 minutes, and it was miserable. And I'm 40, 41 at the time, I think, and then I go back to the bullpen, and I'm like, okay, so that was like one of those moments that's just unfair, right? It's unfair to make me turn around, not let me get water, not let me do anything. I got to go next. It just is what it is. Yeah. And it's happened a couple times, I fight one, this was a local tournament. I'm on one side of the bracket, and I fight, and on the other side of the bracket, guy didn't show. Okay. So I fight my next match, other side of the bracket, same dude, guy didn't make weight. So now we're in the final. He hasn't fought anybody. I got 2 matches under me, right? So that's also unfair. So I always tell the guys what I started doing, this is stupid. Don't ever do this, guys. But what I started doing is like, once we started rolling in class, I stopped drinking water.
I do the same.
Do you? Okay.
I don't know why I do it, but I do the same.
Yeah.
I actually, like, I was at Cobrina's gym, and I was like, I don't know, for some reason, like, I feel like I had to go to the back. I had to pee or something, but I didn't have enough time, so I was, like, trying to get to the bathroom, and I had to keep coming out. Like, there was somebody else in there, and, like, I would get water as, like, my excuse. And then Fabricio Verdum was like, hey, no water till after the third round. Like,
oh, no shit.
And they were doing 11-minute rounds that day, and I was a brown belt, and I remember, like, they were sending everybody at me. And, like, I think I kind of did it always, but that kind of stuck with me. I was like, you don't need water. You've been drinking water all day.
Yeah, as long as you have been drinking water all day. Yeah. But I mean, that was one of those things, because I felt like this is bullshit. I should be able to get water, right? But it's just one of those things that happens. It's just unfair, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the stuff that I do in the competition training is the shit that's just unfair. Yeah, it's just unfair. This is bullshit. Yes. Yeah. Yes. One thing you can't do is, like, you can't get up and yell at the ref. You can't get up and push your opponent. You can't get mad. You can't do anything. It just is what it is. Yep. And that's kind of what I'm trying to teach them.
Yeah. Sometimes it's even like, the thing that drives me crazy, someone is like, I don't get it. And I don't get it. It's like, you don't get it because you just started learning it. You're not good at it yet. Of course you don't get it. You just started learning it. Like, if I just try to drive a motorcycle today, I think I'm just going to get it. Right. I hear that. It drives me crazy. Yeah. Or like when I'll be like, so-and-so, play bottom. It's like, I don't want to play bottom. What? Get on bottom. Like I said, get on bottom. Get on bottom. You're playing bottom. And he's like, I play top lane. It's like, I don't care. Like, the way I was raised, I remember my dad telling me this in football: in one ear, out the other. If you don't like what they're saying, just listen and say yes, sir. Yeah. But I was a military guy, you know. And he was hard on me growing up, like with sports, and just like stop complaining. Like I remember him telling me all the time. Like I don't remember a ton of like advice that I got from my dad, except for like stuff like that. But he'd always say like, dude, there's a lot of things in life that I don't want to do, and I just got to do them. Yeah, got to do them. It doesn't matter. Yeah, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're gonna have to do them. Yeah. So like in jiu-jitsu, that's always my thought. Is like, coach says do it, just do it. Just do it. Even if I don't like it, like maybe I'll go home thinking that was stupid, but I'm not going to tell him that. Right. And I'm not going to tell anybody else that. I'm just going to hold it in and be like, boom, move on to the next day, And I hate when I'm in class teaching like a hard class, it's competition class. Yeah. And somebody's like, especially someone tells me they're tired and they're talking or something. It's like, why are you talking so much if you're tired? Like you can train harder. Yeah. So
yeah. And I don't know that it's like a different era or whatever, but it's one of those things like it was just different. Like when we would go to competition classes at GD, it was always different. It was always different because like one day, like it's 9 a.m. and he locks the door.
Nerves. You had nerves.
Yes,
anxiety.
dude. Yeah. And you're like, oh shit.
Remember sometimes he'd be like, we're treating today like a tournament. Warm yourself up.
Yes.
I'd be like, how do I do that?
That's what I was going to say. Like everybody's got their belt tied. We're waiting for him to tell us something. And he's like, yeah, warm yourselves up. We're going to start rolling in 4 minutes. You're like, oh shit. You know, so you just grab somebody. But that's just the way it is. Yeah. You know?
I love that, though. I love when, like, we don't play really too much hip-hop anymore in the gym because, you know, like, the older I get, I have kids. When I hear curse words in the music, it bugs me now. It didn't bug me back then. When I hear it as a student, I don't even hear it.
Yeah.
I'm just in the middle of it. And he doesn't play really any hip-hop anymore probably because of the same, you know?
Yeah.
And, but back then, like, if he had, like, Wu-Tang was on, I'd be like, oh, crap. Today, you know,
it's gonna hurt.
I remember him putting us like in 4-person, like kind of like 4-person Shark Tanks.
Yeah,
and I'd always be with like Marcio and Espen and I don't know who the other light guy is, but someone like that. It's like I remember going to Worlds. Like, how am I gonna go to Worlds? I'm just getting my ass kicked by these guys all day long. You know, like such hard practices.
Yeah,
but like one thing that stood out, Espen Mathiasen told me one day. We're coming home from comp class. We're walking across that street where you could almost die.
6 lanes.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, Espen, I'm defending because he got my back a lot. He was so good. It's like, I'm defending pretty well, and you just choke me right across my face every day.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, you could just tap. We all have a choice. And I was like, man, it's so right.
Yeah.
So like, I tell my students, like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, and you have a choice. You don't have to do this.
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah.
I think you want to, but you don't have to do it, you know? And I think you need to for some of the people, you know? So
I think some people like how should I put this? Like physically don't belong in there.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they can mentally make themselves do it.
Yeah.
And I admire the shit out of that. They just grind, dude. They're a little bit heavier. You know, they're not in good shape. They probably ate like shit the night before, but they just grind out the freaking hour and a half, dude, or 2 hours, whatever it is that we do.
And then some of those people change. You know, some of them stay the same, but they're just tough all the way through. And they're like, they get good at jiu-jitsu, but they never end up being like super healthy.
Yeah,
whatever. You know, like,
yeah, cool.
Everybody's journey is so different, but sometimes you see people totally change.
Yeah.
You know, like I think you've changed a lot. Like you're more athletic than me probably now. You work out more than me.
I don't know.
You're probably healthier than me. Like, dude, I just do jiu-jitsu all day long. Everyone's like, you work out? I'm like, dude, I do jiu-jitsu like 3 times a day. That's it. You know, I don't have time to work out. I mean, I do, but I tell myself I don't. Like my garage is a gym. I have weights in my garage. I don't use it because it's like, man, I got home at 8:30. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna go out in the garage, and then on the weekends, like, it's like the game's on.
Yeah,
You know? So like, I think some people just change so much. Everybody has their own journey, and it's really cool to see. I've seen people lose 100 pounds multiple times.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
Multiple times.
I love that.
I've seen people change their lives and be like, now like they're a family man, and they have. I mean, me. Yeah. My whole family. My whole life is from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I met my wife there. I've been teaching. I had my kids while I'm teaching. Everything that I have in the world today is from jiu-jitsu.
That's so cool.
Crazy.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I love it. I think you know, you're a jiu-jitsu guy through and through. I remember one conversation that you and I had. Maybe it was a group of us. We were in the morning class, and I don't know if you remember this, but we were talking about the Meow Brothers. And one of them's missing a tooth, right? And that's how I tell them apart when they're, you know, one guy is not wearing his whatever. And we were talking about that. I was like, yeah, I'd get. We were talking about how we would fix it if we lost a tooth. And then you said something like, if I lose a tooth, then that's just the way it is, man. So very much similar to you're not going to get a surgery unless it's like an emergency. You wouldn't fix your tooth either.
Well, shoot, like, dude, back in November, I believe. There's this new black belt comes to the gym. Really good. His wife's like a traveling nurse. He was there for a few months. Like, he's just from, I'm not sure where he's from, but not from a big time school, but he's just like scrappy good.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, this guy's beating me up. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to roll with this guy. And I start rolling with him, and he's tough. And so I start switching my game up to be more like competition style. And I finally get a good position. I get him mounted with the lapel position, and he hip bumps me. And I post my left arm, actually. And my left arm totally collapsed inwards. Oh. Like, my elbow went all the way in. I'm pretty sure I was like, it's broken. Like the click, I heard like pop, pop, tear, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's something's really gone, you know? It's messed up. And the first thing I think is like, I'm not getting surgery. You Because one of once when I was in the hospital, they had mentioned something about some people are just prone to getting staph infections, and I was like, well, I heard that, and now I'm like, I'll never get surgery again. And
just in case.
So like my wrist is bruised from my wrist to my armpit, black and blue, my whole arm, black and blue, and I couldn't take time. I took like a day off.
Yeah,
but I had to teach.
Yeah,
I got to teach. What am I going to do?
Yeah,
it's my job.
No time.
And they don't. When you're the head instructor, and you teach like 15 classes a week. I can't just get someone to cover all those classes.
No,
so
it's impossible.
I just started teaching, and like it hurts, and like even still to this day, sometimes people will arm wrap me. I'm like, oh yeah, my arm still hurts, But not one time did I think like I'm going to get surgery.
Yeah,
heck no.
Yeah. Well, I got my knee scoped a few weeks back. And I think the first week, everything went perfect. Yeah. Like my classes were covered. I don't teach that much. Classes are covered. I'm doing physical therapy. I'm doing my thing. Mm-hmm. The following week, everything goes to hell. Oh, like people calling in. I had to miss physical therapy. I'm like, I'm kind of panicking. But now it's starting like, the knee starts feeling better, and I'm getting into physical therapy with Greg as much as I can, and now I'm back to lifting, and I feel good again. Now it's like I gotta be careful because this is where the dangerous, right?
When did you start feeling too confident?
Yeah. So I got to make sure that I don't screw it up. But I'm almost 4 weeks out, so I'm pretty close to being, back. But,
so it was recently.
Yeah. Less than 5 weeks ago, like maybe 4 weeks.
Isn't that crazy how fast those things heal up?
Insane.
My first scope, I remember like week 4, I had to go back to the doctor and like my 1 month checkup, and like I don't know if we were just taking something off or whatever, and I'm like, so I had done both my knees. Remember, it was a meniscectomy on both my knees. And I'm like, hey, doc, am I so I can't re-tear them. I don't have a meniscus anymore. He's like, no, you can't re-tear it. I'm like, so I can pretty much do whatever I want. He's like, no, because you're going to be in a lot of pain. Everything you do is going to hurt really bad. And I was like, but I can't make it any worse.
Right.
And he's like, I guess, no, you can't make it. I was like, oh, okay. I left.
Done.
Back to the gym. And I remember Lopez, when I went to the gym that night, and Lopez like, you're not training. So I went to Nova's gym. I drove straight to Nova's.
Really?
I drove straight to Nova's gym. And I was like, don't tell Lopez. And I trained at Nova's for the week, and then I was already signed up for the BJJ Phoenix Open. And I didn't tell Gustavo. He thought I was not doing it. I was like, I'm signed up. And back then, they didn't do refunds that well. So I was just like, I might do it. And then the morning of, I'm like, I'm doing the tournament, So I get there, and I just kind of like sneak in. I don't see nobody. And then everyone sees like, what's Josh doing on the mat? And
you made it all the way to the mat before anybody noticed. Oh my God!
I was like so sneaky. I was like, I don't want, because Lopez and Gustavo were like, dude, you just had double knee surgery. And back then, like nobody knew much about knee surgeries. It was like in the age of if you have an ACL, you're done. Right. It was just getting better.
Split you open. Yeah.
So I won 3 fights on my knees. I remember like I didn't even stand. I would pull guard, and when I swept them, I would sweep to my knees. Oh my gosh. I ended up losing in the final, probably to Edwin, or I don't know who it was, but I lost in the final. But I took second, won 3 fights on bum knees, and like that was I was like, I'm good. I'm just gonna train right through it. So that was 4 weeks. So if you're at 5 weeks now, like you're getting ready to start. Yeah, you're starting to feel good, but you don't want to
do anything stupid. The only thing that hurts is if I land on it. Like I try to teach an outside single. Yeah. And I bounced off my knee. I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. So had to.
Yeah, I always felt bad about like is Uchimata like when you trip to the outside? Or is that Osotogare?
I can't remember the.
One of those two. You kind of trip your foot to the outside. Like I couldn't do that until actually just like the last 6 months. I started doing it again. I was like, I haven't done this in 12 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I've been afraid to do this technique, forever. Yeah. Man, knee surgeries, and I just think like all that stuff is just. Yeah, it's just a pause.
Yeah,
if it depends on who you are, but now that I've been through a couple things like that, I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to stop jiu-jitsu now.
No, I can't. I mean, I talked about this a couple podcasts ago where, all I'm doing now is trying to push that end date back. I know I can't. I got to stop one day. I'm just trying to make it like when I'm 90.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, don't say end date. Don't say that.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 90.
One day I'm just gonna stop. I always I love how like some sports athletes say is like one day I'm just gonna be gone.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna do a big retirement. It's like one day I'm just gonna be gone. I'm not gonna tell anybody or anything like that. It's just gonna be over. Like I don't ever want to plan for like the end. Honestly, like I feel like my jiu-jitsu career has kind of just started. Yeah, it's really weird because like before the knee surgery, I had all the funding, and we were almost going to open my own gym. I had everything set. Wow. Like we were just deciding on a couple locations.
Yeah.
And then after the knee surgery, I had 2 kids.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, man, I can't have a gym with 2 kids because right now I bring them to work with me.
Yeah.
And it's not my gym, but like, if it was my gym, I would feel so much more uncomfortable. Like I'm messing up everybody's training. These kids are screaming, these kids are yelling. They're asking, daddy, daddy, daddy. I got to run off the mat, And so I'm just waiting a little longer. And like, I really don't, I might like basically just be starting, you know, who knows?
Yeah. No, I agree, man. Because I mean, we've learned way more about like the human body in the last 10 years than, we knew, anybody really knew. And NFL players are playing longer, baseball players are playing longer. I mean, who knows, man? I mean, we may find a way to get you a new meniscus in your knee. It may have some goo they could slap in there.
I don't need anything. Just let it stay the way it is. I always say it's like, I just want it to be the way. I just got to avoid, the things I can't do. I can't go to like Disneyland. Like I went last year or a few months back, and that does kind of suck because like it's my kids' thing, and we went for day 1. By day 2, I remember I was like, babe, I need to sit down. My knees are hurting. And I sat down and I couldn't get up.
Oh,
I was like, man, I don't know what happened. I'm in so much pain.
Yeah.
And I remember telling her, I was like, take the kids. And her mom and dad were there. So I was like, just take the kids the rest of the day. I'm going to walk home. They were like, walk home? You're in pain. I'm like, yeah, but I'll take the pain. I'm just getting out of there. Like, that kind of stuff, like coaching, standing still.
Yep.
Like we were at, I don't know what not Jiu-Jitsu World League. There's one of those smaller events that I went to a few months ago, and it was just like things were so slow. It was just like,
oh, that's awful.
It's just like, God,
a lot of standing around doing nothing.
Open mat here, open mat here, open mat here. It's like, let's get this going, and even like the San Diego IBJJF or one of the tournaments, like my student had to wait forever because the other guy was. That kind of stuff kills my knees. That's the kind of stuff that I can't do. I can't stand still for a long time.
Yeah,
it's funny. I can train jiu-jitsu, but I can't like go on a long walk.
That's crazy. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Well, just this morning, Monday is my first day back on the mat, like training. So I thought, well, I'll just drill and I'll do the situationals, and then I won't do any rounds. And then I was like, maybe I'll do 1 round, right? But I really wanted to see like what I could do with my leg. Can I push? Can I pull? Can I hold? That kind of thing. And it was kind of feeling good. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to give it a rest tomorrow. I lifted weights, but I still gave it. I didn't do any jiu-jitsu yesterday. And then today I was like, okay, so I'm going to go in for the morning training session. I'm going to train. Did the warm up, did the technique, and then I got 2 rounds in. I just wanted to feel it, and I play a lot of spider lasso. So I'm like, well, let's see what the lasso feels like. I'm like, oh, it doesn't feel too bad. Yeah, there's an omoplata right here. Fuck it, let me try it. And I did it, and I'm like, okay, the knee feels good. And then transition to triangle. It feels good.
You would think with the lasso, the thing I'd be afraid of. So like, there's a lasso move you do where they pass away from the lasso, and then you use the lasso to sweep them over.
Yeah,
that's the kind of stuff that I don't like. Even still, I don't like to push sideways with my legs. Like,
if my toe moves,
I try to put my toes upwards always. Like I always try to keep, if I'm gonna be butterfly sweeping somebody, I try to get my toes up. I don't want it to be using the side of my leg, because then I feel like I want to do a leg extension, kind of type lift.
Yes.
To protect your knees.
I know exactly what you mean.
Man, that's all great knowledge that I'm glad that I got.
Yeah.
And actually speaking about knee injuries, this just happened to one of my students. I was just telling him this. Like, I feel like you're so much better now. Every injury I had, whether it was a knee or I had some rib injuries, when I came back, I always felt better. And I think the reason is, and this happens with new belts too, when I get to come back from an injury, I don't trust my cardio or I don't trust like my explosiveness, so I make better decisions in the round.
Okay,
like I pick better techniques, Whereas if I was like fully healthy, I'm like, I'm gonna go for this whatever. And now like I never really strayed away from that anymore. I'll still do it here and there because like I like my students to see cool stuff, so I'll do cool stuff here and there for them. But like I pretty much take the safe, easy route all the time.
Nice.
Like I'm trying to get that's because of all my knee injuries. I got so much better in all these safe areas. Now like that helped my game. So every knee injury was bad, but it kind of added a little bit to my game here and there.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what are you looking for aside from a submission? What are you looking for in your round? Like, what's your end goal? If you can't sub them, like, where do you want to be?
I want to control. So, like, one thing that as a lower belt, I got a lot of submissions as lower belt. Like, that was kind of I was like back takes, lapel guards, submissions, Darce chokes, So, like, submissions are fun, but, like, sometimes I just love to, like, let's say I'm rolling with, like, a 200-pound person, and I just control them the whole. Like, I feel physically stronger. Like,
on
I
top?
know I'm not. Yeah, on top. On bottom, like, It's always, it's a little different. Like my bottom view has been it changes so much because I've changed different guards all the time. And I feel like as an instructor, you need to know almost every guard.
You got to know them all.
Maybe you can't do them all proficiently, but you got to know at least the beginning of all of them. But on top, like I've really learned to, at least in my opinion, I feel like I've learned to be heavy and control bigger people. And if like, so like one thing training with Marcio Andre for like a year or two, I realized that if you're playing a knee shield, if you let somebody grab your collar, that's like the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel on top. Like if I get to your knee shield and I get a hold of your collar, oh man, you're not going to get me off you anymore now, you know? And like it might not work out every time, but if it works out most of the time, every time my confidence gets better and better. And then as my confidence gets better, my like ability to try new details or things, or my confidence in other things that I'm already doing gets better. So like my game has changed so much more that I'm like, I love to be on top. I love to pass. Yeah. And I want that person to, without embarrassing somebody, I don't want to like totally just take somebody out and never let them move, right? But people who are good enough that I don't have to give them positions. Yeah. Like I remember a couple of years back, Orlando was watching me train with somebody and I was like letting them out of positions. And he was like, dude, do you ever remember Gustavo or Rosenberg letting you out of side control? Yeah. And I was like, he's right. I got to be harder on these guys. And I love just feeling like I have all the, like feeling heavier than I am. Yeah. You know? Like I want to feel like I'm 200 pounds when I'm on top. And when I get a compliment from someone saying that I have a lot of pressure, that's kind of what I like right now.
That's a high compliment. You know? Yeah.
So I just want to be efficient. Yeah. So I love to be like so technical that people love what I'm doing. Yeah. But if they don't like what I'm doing, I want it to be efficient. You know? Yeah. Because not everybody likes the same jiu-jitsu style. Right. So
I'm very much into boring. I want to get to mount as soon as possible and just hold you there the entire time. So here's how that came about. Because I wasn't really big on going to mount. I like side control, knee on belly, that type stuff, and setting things up from there. But so we follow we do a 13-week fundamentals curriculum. It hasn't changed in 3 years, and we just continuously go through it 1 through 13. And one of them is positional mount control. And I was teaching it. The Sunday before I was going to teach it, I was like, I got to change it up a little bit because it's kind of like vanilla. You know what I mean? Like, so what? You know, but I started studying like, Roger Gracie, and I started studying, who else? Henzo. And I started studying like guys that, that can get mount and hold it. Right. Dude, it's so complex. Right. Being in mount is so complex that I fell in love with the study of it. And now I'm teaching it. And when I roll, I want to get to mount and I want to crush their guts and I want to make them feel miserable. But it's funny because you know how this is. You'll study something and you'll be like, you'll teach it, and then everybody in the class is like, okay, yeah, cool. I'm like, no, this is awesome. Yeah. This is fucking awesome.
I'm like, I come to the class. You know how it is being a teacher. Yeah. You're like, depends how much time you put into your class. Like I try to do the night before. I'm already thinking what I'm doing the next day. Yeah. We already kind of have an idea. Yeah. But like I could change the whole. I might get to the class and be like, you know what? There's not a lot of people.
Read the room.
Like I'll change it a little bit. You know. But one thing that happened to me also, with the mount, for example, I was at the Worlds last year, this past year's, not this, 21, I don't know, 22. Okay. Right? And, the last year at Worlds, I was there. 2 years ago, I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, I got swept into the mount, and I hadn't been mounted in like a long time, like since like blue belt. I hadn't been mounted in forever. So I get put in the mount, and I remember thinking, like, all right, this sucks, but just relax. And what the guy did was he did a lot of, like the Gordon Ryan walk the elbows up stuff. Yeah. I remember he walked up my elbow, and then he walked up my other elbow.
Oh, shit.
And I had no frames or anything, and the helplessness that I felt there changed my whole view of the mount. Yeah. So, like, I just put a little bit of study into John Danaher stuff and Ryan stuff, and like just that I look at it like your elbow line, right? Yeah. If I can get their elbows above their head,
oh, they're screwed.
It's like so hard, right? If you look at that bench press and you try to bench press from here, you can put up good weight, right? Yeah. Put that bench press over your forehead. And try to do the same weight. Yeah. So I started to understand like the elbow control so much, and then that played into everywhere now. Yes. Like I'm using some of those same rules and concepts in all my side control positions, like in some of my guard positions,
Yeah.
you know, like I call it edges and ledges. My students think it's so weird, but like if I'm passing your guard and let's say I'm on this side, if I get behind your elbow, you're not turning into me anymore, right?
You're gone. Yeah.
And if I cup the other elbow, you also aren't turning away from me. That's one of my favorite things to do is like get my ribs under this elbow and then cup the far elbow.
Oh, I love it.
Man, it's like, that's what I call it. Like, this is an edge and this is a ledge.
Yeah,
you know?
I love it.
It's
Yeah.
like I think about guard passing kind of like if you were flipping like a nickel, right? Like if I wanted to flip this over, if I just grab it's not going to flip, but if I get under it, I could flip it. So when I'm passing the guard, like if I'm trying to hold you down the opposite way, right? This is trying to turn. If I'm here on the side of it, I'm not going to be able to push it down. But if I'm on the top of it, I can push it down.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to pass your guard, person's trying to turn into me, I'm just focused on pinning that shoulder, you know?
Yeah.
And if I'm trying to force the back, I'm trying to get under it, and I get under the edge of it. And once you can, then you can lift them, you can move them. Just man, a bunch of stuff from like the mixture of the Danaher stuff and like the Guy Mendes stuff and the Guy.
Yeah.
I really feel like my game has gotten 10 times better. Like I wish I knew this stuff lower, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure like there are some things that I've supplemented. Like maybe I don't play lapel guard as well as I used to. I mean, I don't ever berimbolo anymore. Like I berimbolo off of guard passes and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But like some of the stuff I used to do, I don't do anymore. But there's some of the stuff that I didn't do back then. I feel like I do better than the stuff that I did back like than the stuff that I thought was my A game back then. You know?
Okay.
So yeah, like you were going back to the question, you were saying, what am I trying to get out of the rounds? I just want to feel physically like I can control a human being.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the times. You know, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Submissions would be great. I'd love to, like, there are times when I'm like, man, I'm just going to try to submit everybody all the time.
Yeah.
I just want to be in control.
I feel the same way. And I'm sure there's a lot of white belts walking around right now saying, you know what? I rolled with Josh the other day and he didn't submit me one time. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you're not going for that. Yeah. You know what I mean? You want to control them. I love that because honestly, like, you've been doing this for so long that if you wanted to take a white belt and submit them 30 times in a round, you probably could.
Yeah.
Right?
But you know, one thing about white belts that I always say is like, if you play poker, you play poker with somebody who's never played before, it could be hard.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu with somebody who's never played before, especially if they're athletic and scrappy, it can be a little annoying for a little while. Like, God, this guy's going so hard. Like, well, yeah.
But you know what that does? Like, what I've noticed is when somebody is like brand new and they're athletic and they're, like you said, scrappy, it forces you to play a lot of fundamental jiu-jitsu, a lot of closed guard, a lot of hip bump sweep, a lot of, just really simple things.
It makes you want to control them.
Yeah.
When they're really scrappy, and because I get this vibe like, this person thinks they're going to beat me. Like, I can feel it. I'm
How
like,
dare you?
I was like, I think they're really going to beat me. So, like, that's why I'm like, okay, I'm just going to show them. Like, without submitting them, I'm going to show them that they can't move if I don't want them to move.
Yeah.
You know, like, if I want to, I'm going to hold you down and you're not going to move. You know? And then it's going to be good for you in the long run because you're going to learn the same.
Yeah.
So, man, jiu-jitsu has like changed so much, right? When you think about over the years, like, I was never that way before.
Right.
Like I was just teaching leg drags this week. And I was like, man, when I used to do leg drags, I was always trying to force the back. I want the pass.
Yeah.
You know, and then I want the back after.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want the pass first. When I just never thought it was too hard to pass the guard because you're already giving them the incentive to turn away from you.
Yeah.
Might as well catch the arm or take the back.
Yeah.
Well, now it's like, no, you could pass off of it.
Absolutely.
If you know what you're doing with your, like for me, it's all about your forehead and your chin and your upper body.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Josh has been teaching us a lot of really cool things that overcomes that leverage. You know what I mean? When they're posting, and just like you said, head position, chin position, and then you're all of a sudden you're chest to chest,
pushing your chest into the bottom of their elbow.
Yeah. He does a lot of really cool stuff like that too.
That's awesome.
So a couple questions. I'm up against it, so we're gonna have to cut this a little. Oh, it's almost hour 45. Not bad.
We could probably talk forever.
Oh, we could.
Because we didn't even get into. There's so many stories. And it's like,
we didn't get into any of it.
That's why Vanessa was like, "Think about what you're gonna say." I'm like, "Babe, I'm not gonna have to think about it. I got a lot of stories." She's like, "You don't want to have a list?" Because she, Vanessa's like my. She kind of takes care of me like in every aspect of life.
Yeah.
She's probably nervous for me to do the podcast.
No kidding.
Like she wants it to sound good, like she's she really does like take care of me so much. So like she's saying like, hey, make sure you know what you're gonna say. Like you want help with the dates, and I was like, even if I say I don't, because I don't remember a lot of dates with a lot of things.
I don't either.
That kind of guy. Yeah. Like
I'm gonna get both of you on the show one time.
Yeah, she'd be great on the show.
Yeah.
She is like the one who pushes our jiu-jitsu now.
That's cool.
After my fight to win, she's like, we're talking about competing. She's like, I'm going to sign you up for 4 tournaments. I was like, what? She was like, you need to compete more. She's like, you're losing I don't know what she was saying, but I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
Right. And the next day, she's like, signed you up for tournament. And now I'm signed up for like a bunch of tournaments, which is awesome. That's how I always was before. Before I was like, people were like, are you going to compete at this tournament? Of course I am.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You know, now like with the kids and with my knees and with teaching so much, I was always like, I don't need to compete. But I'm going to go on a little run here.
It gives you a little edge.
Yeah, I like to keep my edge.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So Amy, when we opened our academy, shortly after we opened our academy, Amy got her purple belt. Maybe a few months, 6 months after we opened. Before she was like, I mean, hobbyist is like an understatement. I mean, she would train, she wouldn't. She would train, she wouldn't. But she really took on like a responsibility to be like a leader, like for the women in the school. So she started, competing a little bit more, started training more. Dude, she lost 30 pounds and 10% body fat in 1 year. So she really got herself in shape. And it got to a point where like she was going to tournaments without me. Yeah. I've been to New York. I've been, California, Texas, Nevada, you name it, like without her, because we always traveled and competed so much. And now she's going without me. And she told me, she didn't say like, hey, I'm signing up for this tournament. It's like, hey, I signed up for this tournament and it's this date. I'm like, how are you getting there? Oh, it's all worked out. I'm going with Erica, whatever, but
it's funny because Vanessa's gone to tournaments without me.
That's great.
But I can't go without her because she's like, if you're going to a tournament, I'm going to the tournament. she's going to a tournament too,
That's cool.
She just loves to compete. So she's actually got more accolades than me. She's already won a world title. That's awesome. She's won a bunch. She's done really well. I mean, I've competed more. Yeah. But she's done well. So
that's good.
If I say you want to go to Worlds, she's gonna go. Any tournament,
Yeah. She was at that the fundraiser that happened over at Power. And remember the one? Yeah. So, I think Nava rolled with her, and Nava was yelling, yeah, she fights dirty. She's
rough, dude. She'll tell me, like, after the round, when I'm on bottom the whole time, I always tell her, I was like, I feel like my back's imprinted on the floor, And then, like, I always tell people a joke, because people always ask, like, how do you guys train so well together? Because, like, husbands and wife or girlfriend and boyfriend don't always train so well together. No. And I'm like, we fight a lot about it. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, she thinks I'm not going hard enough.
Yeah. Same thing with Amy.
She wants me to fight her, and then, like, or like, she wants me, it's like, she wants me to really go hard because she's like such a fighter. And it's hard, because I don't want to hurt her. Right. But I know, like, and she is so scrappy that I can go hard with her, and she's not going to go light with me.
Has she been an athlete her whole life?
She played soccer her whole life.
Okay.
So like, but never like contact sports like this. Okay. But like, she just that way with everything.
Gotcha.
Like, every Saturday and actually every single day, she'll never sit down and watch TV for more than 15 minutes. Wow. She just all day long she's cleaning or she's building or she's cooking or she's in the backyard redoing something. Like, she's just a doer.
That's cool.
That's why I was just told her a day. She was doing something crazy. I don't know what she was doing. I was like, babe, we're never going to be poor. Oh, yeah. I was sitting in the hammock, drinking a beer, watching the game, and the kids were swimming, and she's out there, like, blowing the leaves and work. And she comes over, and she said, I was like, babe, we're never going to be poor. And she's like, huh? I was like, look at me being lazy, and you're just working. She her work ethic.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah.
So that helps jiu-jitsu for me.
Yeah. I was always curious, man, just on going back to your training real quick. Who was a teammate and a teammate that you've been with for a long time? Who was a teammate that pushed you the hardest? Like, you admire them. They showed a lot of work ethic. They trained their ass off, and they were just somebody that, like, if he's doing it, I'm doing it. Who was that for you?
Man, probably Tyson, Aaron, and Orlando.
Okay.
Really, probably like Tyson came around later. Like,
how late? What do you mean later?
Tyson came over like around when I was probably brown belt. He's purple belt.
Okay.
Like, he came to GD. He came like in the middle of like the heyday, like when everybody was there, Yeah. But really, like, Aaron was the first one. We came up. I remember when Aaron was a white belt. Like, I remember when he first started as a white belt.
Yeah, he won pans, I think, at a white belt.
Yeah, and I learned like. Actually, I learned like long step, like top spin.
Yeah,
like top spin, long
step.
You're
the one who taught it
with him.
Yeah, you're the one who taught it to us.
Yeah, if I ever knee sliced him, he would always turn to a single leg and get up, and I was like, "What the hell's going on?" This guy's like, he's a white belt. He keeps turning single leg, so like I had to learn how to step over to try to get to the back, and like he helped me a lot because he was so tough with his wrestling, and And because we had so much in common, like we went to every tournament together, and after every tournament, win or lose, we would hang out together. Okay. Every single tournament, everywhere, all over the country, all over the world. We went to Europe together a couple times. You know, we had a great time together. And then like Orlando moved out. Like I remember meeting Orlando at the Worlds. I think I was a purple belt and he was a blue belt. He was like 17.
Yeah.
And he didn't speak. I remember Bruno Bastos was like, "Hey, hold on. This guy wants to go buy a phone. Take him to go buy a phone." And I was like, all right, whatever. So we're on the he's like showing me the address, but he's not talking. I was like trying to talk to him, and I realized, you don't speak English, you know?
Yeah.
So we go buy this phone from this super sketchy dude, you know? Anyways, like we become friends, and like a week later, he calls me from Texas. He was like, "Man, I don't like Texas. I want to go to Arizona."
Okay.
And I was like, all right, you know, because I was living by myself, me and my brother, and I was like, I don't care. You can sleep on the floor or whatever, you know? And he slept on the floor for about a year and a half, and then we ended up moving to the gym after that.
Oh, okay.
But, man, that kid, he's the type like that will he would wake up like at 5 to eat his meal because he needed this meal in at a certain time, and then he'd go back to bed. And then we'd get up like the training was at 10. Mm. So he was not like an early person. He'd get up like at 9:30, we drink our coffee. He got me to drink. I didn't even drink coffee back then. He was like, "Man, you're gonna have to drink coffee and eat a banana or something." Because I didn't eat food either.
Yeah.
And we'd go train, and after class, he'd be like, class would always be hard, like really hard, because it was always like, I mean, imagine a room with Espen and Tommy and the Sodre brothers and Luan Carvalho, and if Marcio was there and whoever else, you know, like just everybody's so good that like it's so hard. And then after he'd be like, "Man, we're gonna have to do more. Everybody on the line. We're gonna do push-ups and squats and all these things." And I'd be mad at him, like, why? You know, we just trained so hard. And then we'd go home. He would eat, and then he would go at 2:00 to physical, to just lifting weights. You know?
Holy shit!
And then we'd go back at night every night. You know, and we'd go back every night, and we'd do either 1 or 2 classes. I don't remember how many we did at night. Like eventually it was 2 classes every night.
Yeah. And
that guy was just always, and then he'd be on the diet. He'd be on his diet. Like we would eat like In-N-Out burger, and then he'd be at home like so upset with himself. Like, "Man, I shouldn't have done that."
Oh yeah.
Like he's like, I came here because he came from Brazil, and like left his family, left everything to come to America to be a professional athlete.
Yeah. And
then I'm talking him into eating In-N-Out burger, and I'm like, so like I would feel like, man, okay, now I'm messing up this kid, you know, who's coming. So like he got me to, I was never as tough as him. Never. I never liked lifting weights like he did. But like in the rounds, I think I'm as tough as him.
Okay.
You know? Like one thing I would say about those days, about like when we were with all those guys at GD's when it was the best, maybe I wasn't getting as good as I could have gotten because we were training so hard, but I got so tough.
Yeah.
Like I think now I'm getting better every day because I'm looking at like technical jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like technical jiu-jitsu all the time.
Yeah.
But getting smashed by somebody all day long is great for young people, I think.
Yeah.
You know? Especially if you don't quit. If you quit, like who knows what it might do some you might already be on a bad route anyways, you know. But if you can stick it out and you can get your face smashed so bad that like I had bruising on my chin. I had shadows around my eyes all the time from the cross faces. And there'd be a point where I remember like with Marcio, he'd be knee slicing me so much every single day that where I'd be like, you know what? I would have the tightest grip of my legs. Like I'm just going to hold out, elbow across my face, shoulder in my face. And he probably got out most of the time, but I would hold out for like 4 minutes, 5 minutes of just like, imagine like a rug burn, but with the gi over and over on your face. And like, he's the kind of grappler that when he feels you like not submitting to him, I kind of feel like I'm that way now. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're not gonna let me pass? All right, here you come. Here comes the pain, you know." So like I dealt with a lot of that, and I would say like those guys like Tyson in the sense that he was the guy that will go for it. Like you ever been passing the guard and you feel the person stick their arm out and your mind's like armbar, but you're also like, just take the points, you know? Just be safe. Yeah. I was always the one to be safe, but he would always jump on everything. Yeah. So like the combination of the 3 guys, like trying to get me to be Tyson, trying to get me to be, he wasn't like telling me these things. Like no one's like, you need to do this, or Orlando was, but he was, but like Tyson and Aaron were like coaching me because we were peers, you know, we were coming up the same belts together. Yeah. But those guys influenced me a lot, trying to be like with Aaron, like he was a wrestler, hard nosed, like got to learn how to wrestle, Josh, you know, like got to figure it out somehow. I'm not a great wrestler, but like in jiu-jitsu, I'm a decent wrestler. Yeah. You get me against a regular wrestler, like, it's
totally different.
Yeah, it's totally different. But like, just like training hard through Orlando's training and like learning how to be aggressive with air and style, and then also like Tyson's ability to just go for it.
Yeah.
You know, like the combination of the three. And then I kind of look at myself as I think I've been a coach more than a competitor. Even like when I was competing full time as a black belt and brown belt, I was always coaching, and I enjoy like the coaching part of the world. Like I enjoy being there all 4 days, 9 a.m. with my coffee, 9 a.m. like. And I remember like this last one, we had like 3 guys going pretty close. And one of my students is like, Josh, we're all going close. I'm like, awesome. He's like, how are you going to make it? I'm like, we'll be fine.
Figure it out.
I love this.
Yeah.
You know, I love like, match just ended. Good job. I got to go. Run
I
to
love
the next
that.
mat.
Yep.
You know, like that is so much fun to me. And I just hope that at some point, like, actually I know when I have my own gym, I'm going to build that kind of team up again.
Yeah.
But I hope at some point soon we could have 15 to 20 competitors at these big tournaments again, you know, because it's something these guys are going to enjoy.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I went to Worlds this year to coach one student.
Yeah.
And I've always been this way. But with my jiu-jitsu life. When I'm coaching, like when I took over Paul's morning class, there was 3 people day one, right? Including me. There were 3 of us in there, right? You know the deal. Like it just is what it is. But I always told them, like, I don't care if we have 1 person or we have 100 people. I'm going to run it the same way. We're going to bow in. We're going to do regular warm-ups. We're going to do all that stuff, and then we're going to bow out. And I've always been that. I think that level of professionalism is important, right? And so, you know, my student is like, it's just me. You shouldn't go. I'm like, no, this is what I do. Yeah. Like this is my life. Like this is what I do. And
especially if they made the time to come.
100%.
6 a.m.
and put the time in.
Put the time in?
Yeah, they put the time in. So, you know, if somebody surprised me, somebody that never trained surprised me going, hey, I'm going to Costa Mesa to do the ADCC. And I'm like, good luck. Yeah. Let me know how it goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if they grind, like if they put in the work, I'm in. Yeah. I'm 100% in. So, so let me ask you, as a coach, how should I put this? I want to make sure I get this right. What do you want your legacy to be? How do you want people to remember you?
You know, it's funny thing about coaching is I remember thinking this like in year 2 or 3. Like every year I look back and I'm like, oh man, I had some rough classes.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm sure you had a lesson that like happens to me sometimes when I'm teaching something that I do a lot personally, and then I try to teach it, and then you just feel like the message didn't get to everybody.
Yeah.
So I always look back every year and I'm like, okay, you got better this year, you got better this year. Like I just want to keep getting better, and I don't want people to ever feel like I'm just there. Because I felt that way before with instructors, and I feel people get burned out, and I think if I allow it to if you start to let it happen, it starts to happen fast. You know? Like when I start to get too out of after the knee surgery, like I had times where I'm like, yeah, Josh, you're just a guy now. You just train jiu-jitsu. Like I even thought about getting a job. Like maybe I'll just get a regular job and go back to school maybe or something. And now that I'm fully like invested back in jiu-jitsu, I just want people to know that I care. I want people to know that they can come talk to me, and that they can do things that they think they can't. You know.
Yeah.
I hate when somebody doesn't realize their potential, and I didn't see that as much back then. You know, it might have happened when I had kids. Like, I remember coaching Gabe Fuentes. He's like, man, I get emotional thinking about this. So he was like 14, 13, and at the time we had Dom, Maurice, Micah, a bunch of just superstar teens. And they were just beating Gabe up in practice all the time. And he's getting better, he's getting better, he's getting better. And I knew this kid since he was like 6. I coached him when he was 6. I didn't coach him. I was coaching him at an event. I wasn't his coach. He was at Lopez's. But
I know the kid.
I knew him forever.
Yeah, I know the kid.
And after a pans, he won a match or 2. He comes off. He's like, he is balling, just crying. He's like telling me how much he wanted it. And I just had kids. And I remember like, why am I emotional? And I'm walking away, and this little girl like sees me, and she sees my eyes are watery, and she's like, "It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay." And I'm like, "No, these are good. This is good. I like this." You know?
Yeah.
And so now, ever since then, I feel like I want people to think that I care.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. I just want to I love jiu-jitsu so much, and it gave me so much that man, it's like it's really important to me.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's awesome, man. I can totally tell. Last question. What do you want now that you're coming up on your second stripe on your black belt? When you start promoting black belts, what do you want your black belts to all have in common? What do you want them to have in common?
So I want everybody to feel like they can do any style of jiu-jitsu. That's a big thing for me. Like, I can't train with them because they do nogi, or I can't train them because they do nogi, or I don't like spider guard, or like I always tell my older belts who don't do like berimbolo, like you don't need to know berimbolo, but what if you're a black belt and a blue belt comes in, he's like, hey, I want to know about berimbolo. You're just like, oh, I don't know it. Never say that. Like, I want you to say like, well, this is what I do know about it. I don't know a bunch about it, but I know this or I know that. So I want I want my black belts to be solid everywhere. But I really actually, now I'm thinking about it, like the way the sport's changed over the last couple of years is I want people to be respectful.
Yeah.
Because like you'll see people say like jiu-jitsu was not a respectful sport coming up. There was dojo storming. It's like, well, when I was coming up, it was respectful.
Yeah.
So I don't care about where somebody else thinks it came from. I don't care about this person's experience. Like my experience was a lot of respect. One time a student pushed I beat an AOJ guy who had just won Worlds at purple belt. I beat him like the week after at the Vegas Open, and he pushed me. And I was like, "What the heck?" I never had anybody ever had any. I never had any of those situations. Everyone's been really cool, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I just want people to know that like this is supposed to be a respectful sport.
Yeah.
Like you should take care of your partners, but you should also be able to train hard with them, and that's probably it. Like good, solid black belts, good everywhere, but also good people. And let's try to keep jiu-jitsu. Like let's let the pro athletes be as whatever they want to be, you know, but like we're not, most of us are just regular dudes.
Yeah.
We don't have to be on social media causing drama,
right?
Calling people out. Like if you have a problem with somebody, you don't like what somebody did, an old coach of yours, an old student of yours, is it going to change anything that you went online and said something about them? No, it's not. It's going to make you look bad. Yeah. And I've told people, I've reached out to people who have done that. I'm like, dude, disappointed you did that. Like I've done stuff before, I've told somebody something that I look back, but I don't remember ever going online and calling people out like publicly to everybody. You know? So that's something I'm trying to change, and I hope everybody can look at, like for example, like Tynan, Gordon, Marigali kind of comparisons lately. Yeah, like who's the GOAT, who's the king. I just think that you can lose and you could win without being a jerk. Yeah. You know? Yeah. That is actually probably the biggest thing.
I love it. Yeah. No, that's great, man. Well, listen, man, I'm up against it. I got to go back to the academy, or else, dude, we could sit here for another couple hours.
I got to teach in a couple, like I got to get the kids, and I got to teach. I got 2 more classes too.
Do you? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, thank you so much for being on, dude. Awesome, we're gonna do this again. Yeah. We just got to pick, like, I don't know.
We got to get like a weekend night. We got to do like a group one.
Yeah.
You know? Like, we get like Nava and somebody else too.
Well, what I was thinking is I could set up my big table outside. I could set up the cameras out there, cool. do some lighting. That would be so much fun. I can get like 7-8 people around that table.
Just some people, because people don't even know about all the stories we have. No. Like, after every event, no one does this anymore. I don't know if you guys do, but I don't do this anymore. Every event, we used to go to that hole-in-the-wall bar. Yeah. I forget what it's called.
Bogies.
Dude. Every event, we'd be there for like 5-6 hours. Dude. And like, that's how, I'm not with Aggro anymore, but I remember like, that's how I got my first sponsorship.
No kidding.
We were just hanging out, drinking out of Bogies, and I was just like telling Aggro Eddie how much I loved Aggro, and he was just like, you know what, we're gonna sponsor you. And
like, that's so cool, man.
So like, I miss those days. I always tell my students, like, they're always like, I need to find a job. I'm like, just ask around. Yeah, you know so many people. Yeah, like you can go network outside of jiu-jitsu, but like if you know so many people, you can find something. And those days back then, we had so many group experiences.
It was beautiful, man. Yeah. We definitely got to do this again to talk about some of those, man, because those were some of the best nights ever, dude. Like, they were crazy.
That night in New York when we got lost on the train.
I was the one that said, I'm not getting on the train. It's going to Brooklyn. We're not going to Brooklyn.
I don't remember where we were at. I was just like,
we were in Manhattan. Yeah. Yeah. It was a
Times
crazy
Square was
night.
shut down.
Yeah. It was a crazy night. But all right, everybody, listen, if you love the podcast or hate the podcast, please give us a like and a follow on YouTube. We're on Instagram, the BJJ Foxcast. Let everybody know where they can find you, man.
So I'm teaching full-time at GD Jiu-Jitsu. I don't have like a bunch of I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, just JRod Jiu-Jitsu. Eventually, like I'll probably have some more. Eventually I'm gonna open my own gym. I've been putting it back a couple years now, but Right now, you can find me teaching at JD Jiu-Jitsu. You ever want a class? And if anybody ever has a question on anything, I always say, like, I'm not the kind of guy who has to give you a private lesson to help you with something. If you have a question on a technique, just message me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm willing to help at any time with anybody.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome, man. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Josh, thank you again, brother.
Thanks, guys.
All right.